What's going on? 10 o'clock live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans back on the field today for mandatory minicamp. Brian Callahan will speak to the media in moments. We're going to carry that right here on the Buck Rising Show. But all is not well around the league with some of the bigger stars missing mandatory minicamp. It was reported that Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin would not be at mandatory minicamp, as well as Bengals and Steelers star pass rushers Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt, who were number 1 and number 2 in the NFL in sacks over the past 2 seasons. And in hockey, Lucas, taking advantage of the Edmonton Oilers' worst performance in several weeks, the defending Florida Panthers pounced on the mistakes to win Game 3 in a 6-1 rout Monday night to take a 2-1 series lead. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning and welcome to Mandatory Minicamp. The Tennessee Titans will be on the field each of the next 3 days, and here's how it's going to work. Buck Rising is out at the facility. He'll check in the noon hour. We'll do that today, tomorrow, and Thursday. I'm Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh, and myself with you until 1 o'clock. Brian Callahan is going to lead off our show all 3 of these days, including today, his 41st birthday. I might add, he is the oldest coach in the AFC South, which is the youngest head coaching division in the National Football League. But all of that aside, we will go to Callahan here in just a moment. A lot to talk about this week at Mandatory Minicamp, and let's get a primer from the Titans head coach live from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park.
There'll be some guys that are held for various reasons from full participation. There'll be some guys that have some work on the side, some limited participation, but everybody's here and we're ready to roll. So I'll let you guys go ahead.
Anything, I guess, that you want to see improve from maybe OTAs that you need to, in the offseason, on a positive note on?
Yeah, I think we're always, every day, you're trying to get better at something. There's always points of emphasis. I think we've had a good offseason program thus far. This is a little bit, how do we finish it on a high note for us, kind of in all 3 phases, getting ready for when it starts for real here in the end of July. So sort of last tune-up. Structure of the day is still pretty similar to an OTA day for us. We have one more team period today. We're allowed a little bit more time on the field, so we'll take advantage of that, and then we're allowed to meet after practice. So that's really the only difference between the minicamp and the OTAs, but it is the last tune-up, before we break for the summer and head ourselves into the real thing in training camp. So plenty of things to improve on for sure.
We talked to was before Cam had the third down day, which you said was kind of going to be a big day for him, but looked a little bit bumpier maybe than we'd seen him previous, possibly. Just wanted to get your thoughts, your eval.
Yeah, I thought it was a good day for him, and a good day doesn't necessarily mean a high-level performance, but it was a good day for him as a young player to see all the things that are coming at him. He did some really good things, and there was some cool stuff that he learned from that he maybe hadn't encountered before. First time out going against a blitz-heavy attack like our defense is, and presents a lot of problems, a lot of things you have to manage from the quarterback position, a lot of things maybe for the first time he's done. So that was really good to see. Plenty of things to coach off of on the tape. He understands things pretty quickly as far as what the looks are and what our answers are. He's done a nice job of catching up to those things, but really good first day. And the red zone's the other area too, where things happen a lot faster. The windows are tighter. The recognition happens quicker. The throws have to be on point, and so there's been really good learning down in the red zone too. So excited about all that process. There's something every day for him, which is a lot of our young players too. It's been good to work through all that stuff.
The guys are efficiently in the middle of the field. Is that a fair assessment that he's particularly good at this stage in the middle?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. He's got a great feel for underneath coverage and underneath space. Understands where the landmarks are, understands the timing of those throws. It's a strength of his for sure at this point. And it's something we're going to keep working to highlight, and then we'll keep working to fill in where we think he can keep improving. So middle of the field is certainly something he's comfortable with and done a lot of, and that's translated so far to this level in practice.
For the guys who are in year 2 of your system, some of them have talked about being able to go deeper into the playbook with their understanding and all. How valuable is that? And also, how much changes year over year when you go back and reassess?
That's a good question. There's a lot of layers to that. Probably the easiest answer is that the first year, guys are focusing a lot on what to do. They're trying to learn new terminology, how we want routes run, how the process, what they have to do. The second year is a little bit more about how to do it. The different techniques. They're worried less about what words mean because they know. They're worried less about what the language is because they've been through it. And now it's a lot more about the details within all of that. It's probably if you count the times through not counting the season, just installation wise, they've been through the installation quite a few times. So everything is the newness of it is gone, and now it's about how do we refine the details of what we're asking. From a route technique standpoint, from a coverage recognition standpoint, those are all really important aspects, and it's just part of building. When you're doing something new, that first step is you're just trying to get it all under your grasp, and then as you improve at it, you're trying to find out how you can do a better job within the framework of the system. So that's probably the easiest way to explain kind of year 1 versus year 2 for our guys. And then as we evolve and adapt, we study around the league every year. You see, teams running some things, maybe different ways, different formations, different personnel groups. How do we best add things that fit us? And then, as you study some of the college game too, as you go across the league and you get ready for the draft, you're watching all these college guys and college offenses, and they do some cool stuff too, and you figure out where that can fit. And then for us, though, the main thing is refining what we do and doing it better at the end of the day. But we're always looking to tweak and add where we can tweak. But the best teams I've been on offensively are able to have a core, something the things they're good at, and then find ways to dress them up. So you're doing a lot of the same things, but it looks different to the defense is sort of the general idea.
What are the indicators of development for you with the rookie pass catchers? Like, what are you looking for in this phase that tells you any of these guys are getting better?
The speed at which they play, how quickly they can recognize things, from coverage and leverage. How quickly do they pick up on some of the nuance that's required at this level with receivers. There's a lot of things that's on their plate. They have to be able to see a lot, and every day they come out, there's something new comes up for them. And I think the biggest thing is not repeating whatever mistake they made initially and continuing to move forward. And again, the faster they start to play, the more comfortable you can assume they're getting. It's funny, sometimes you can almost see guys think when they're playing. And the idea for the receivers is that you don't want them thinking, you want them rolling, playing as fast as possible, and that just comes with reps.
As you move into minicamp, how do the reps at quarterback change, and how have the guys handled the opportunities that they've gotten?
Yeah, I've been pleased with how they've handled the whole operation. And again, I this isn't lip service at all. Like, Will's done a really nice job over the course of the offseason. He's handled it very professionally. He's competed. Cam's done the same, and then Brandon and Tim have done the same things as well. They've all had opportunities. They made the most of those opportunities. I think all of them have. It's been a good spring, I think, for the quarterbacks in general. That part I feel good about. I'm confident with where they're at. Cam's still taking probably more of the reps because he's got more development to go. He's got more things he's got to get exposed to as a young player. But they're all getting opportunities, and I think the takeaway is that they've all made the most of those chances they've had, and it's been a good process this spring.
How much have you noticed Cam being able to maximize when he's not out there, like getting those mental reps, and like he'll see something that happened and not repeating that mistake that he saw?
That's really an important part of playing quarterback is, you do have to be able to take coaching from, when you're coaching one player, you're coaching the whole position. And there is some benefit to being able to see things when you're not in the heat of it. You need both things. You need to be in the heat to feel it and understand it, but there's a time and a place where watching somebody else do it sometimes makes the picture clearer. Maybe it's something that's muddy or you don't quite see when you're doing it. So that's what's the good part about having guys like Tim and Brandon and Will is guys that have all been through it and done it. He can at least watch some of that as well. So there's benefit to that too. both perspectives of sitting back and watching, and then the act of doing, which, generally speaking, you're going to learn the most by doing and making a mistake and learning from that mistake. But there is a time and place where you have to be able to, take the coaching from the other guys and see something they've gone through and be able to still bank that rep, because it all counts. And the guys that are paying attention and doing it the right way, you can still get a lot better by seeing other guys do it.
Of Jermaine Pratt, and would he be a guy that potentially could interest you guys?
Yeah, I think anytime good players are available, you do your due diligence. It always takes two sides to make something happen. There's got to be interest on both sides, but we're certainly not at the point where we would ever turn our nose up at a player that's available. We'll do our research, we'll do our due diligence. Whether that materializes or not, who knows? But we're always going to look into those guys, and especially as we get into training camp with the top waiver claim, that's something else that's going to come up a lot too. Is just we owe it to our team. Our front office does a great job with it of sort of always mining whatever's available to see if we can improve our team somewhere.
How would you say that?
I'll come back and
I
finish
was
the
just
follow-up.
going to say, what do you recollect about that?
Yeah, I mean, Jermaine was a key piece of our defenses in those runs when I was there in Cincinnati. Leader, good player, productive player. He's kind of responsible for some pretty memorable moments for those teams in those couple of years. And, I was with him from the time he was drafted till I left, so I got a good knowledge of the person. They're certainly, the type of guy you'd want to be around.
Along those lines, you've talked about how it's just difficult with the linebackers to evaluate until the pads come on. Mm-hmm. What would you say the level of patience is with the young guys you have, trying to see who can step up there, and then what's the level of buy-in to the group that you have? Maybe confidence is the right word, that you have that somebody will emerge.
Yeah, excited about what those guys have done. They've really grown. Cedric and James have grown. Adding Orgy and the guys that we've kind of supplemented veteran-wise have really shown up for us. It's hard to evaluate linebackers without pads, as you said. But being in the right spot, reading the right keys, being in the right place in the pass game, all that stuff you can see parts of. And those guys have made some jumps. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like in training camp. We're counting on those guys. We're counting on them to step up. And all of them, at the end of the day, it could have a chance to play some significant snaps for us. So feel good about where we're at. A lot still to be uncovered and competed for, but pleased with that process so far. And again, if it's, we are confident in where they're at, and we're counting on them, but we're not there yet.
From a payroll standpoint, flexibility that if this team were to see somebody out there, June 1st has come, so there's been a lot of guys that have been released. Does this team have the payroll flexibility to add on a big salary or a medium-sized salary?
I think we got good flexibility. I think our cap's healthy, which I think at the end of the day, from a financial perspective, you always want to at least have the flexibility to do those types of things if they come up. We've done a really good job, I think, of managing that over the last, at least since I've been here for 2 years, of being able to be in position, if something does come up that makes sense, of being able to do it. Again, doesn't mean we're going to. I think Mike and those guys in the front office are pretty disciplined in their approach on how they're going to go about those types of players. But I think we have the flexibility to add players where needed from now until, whenever that end point comes for us. The trade deadline, I think, is probably the last point. But, they're going to do their due diligence on anybody that comes available between now and a training camp for sure, again, with the waiver claim as well. But we have the flexibility to do what we would need to do.
About building from the bottom up. Mm-hmm. Do you have to look at it that way to a degree because there's so many more players available? I mean, you've got a huge undrafted rookie free agent class, and you only got one first-round pick. Is that kind of...
I think the good teams in this league do a really nice job of finding ways to fill in their roster depth and trusting that they can find young players, college free agents, late round picks, guys that can step in and contribute. And that's, when you look at the teams, everybody's got their superstars, but the teams that really play well at the end of the year are the teams that rely on their depth, because inevitably you're always going to have injuries. There's always going to be people that need to step up and play a game or two or four. And so those are the guys that end up doing it. Those are your your working class on your football team, and you got to have enough of those guys that can perform when called upon. And so the depth is important. You rely on it over the course of the season, and you coach those guys just the same, and you're coaching them for that moment that we're going to need them. And we're going to need all the guys that end up making our 53, and whoever makes our practice squad, they're all going to have a chance to contribute, and we need those guys.
Be back end of the roster.
Feel good about where we're at. There's a lot still to be played out. But we got some young players that are about the right stuff and have shown some good things so far. And again, we'll get more into the weeds when the pads come on. But feel good about that process of where we're at. And again, we're still looking to add players where we can and improve our football team from the outside if that's what it is too.
Throwing Jeff right back into the mix, and is there anybody that you maybe held back a little bit through OTAs that maybe do a little bit in minicamp?
We'll be mindful with Jeff. This would be his first team activity, so just be smart, but he'll be out there participating. Zeitler will probably do a little bit more today than you guys have seen. Whether that means a bunch of team reps or not, we'll see. But we'll just be smart with those guys. Lockett is in the same boat. Those guys that have just played a lot of football, trying to get them as healthy as possible and feeling as good as possible by the time we get to the season. So we'll manage that a bit, but those guys should be out there a little more than maybe you guys have seen the last couple of weeks. McCreary's coming back. He'll be participating as well. Again, same stuff. Things come up. Guys get rest. And we manage injuries that pop up in the offseason. Nothing major, but he's been working back in 7-on-7, and he should have some team reps today as well. Probably not this week, no.
Do you feel the need to add another veteran in that room with Snead kind of being up in the air?
I think, again, that's a position that we, if the right guys are available and we can add them, we'll look to add them. I think you can never have enough corners because inevitably that's where injuries occur, especially during training camp. On top of it, the more corners you can have, the better. So there's certainly our eyes are always to the wire, trying to see what's available and who might fit.
How much do you feel like you can rely on Snead, given the injuries and the off-the-field issues?
I think everything that he's shown us when he's here has been fantastic, and there's a track record of success as well from what he has been as a player. But he's also got to prove that here too. He hasn't done that yet for us, so there's a little bit of that as well. Like we're waiting for him to show us, the player that he's been. He hasn't reached that level of play for us, and so we're waiting for that opportunity to occur. And I think he'll be ready for it when it comes. But his track record of success and what he's been as a player is pretty well documented. We just hope we need to get that version of him out here for us.
Career coach, what more do you challenge Jeff to be better at?
One more time.
Just at this point in his career, he's been doing it at a high level for so long. What more do you challenge Jeff to be better at?
I think you can always improve. I think you can always find an area of your game, and to me, the best players that are like Jeff, those guys that are high level players, are always looking for somewhere to improve their game. I think I'd love to see more sack numbers from Jeff. That would be a goal for him to be able to actually get the quarterback on the ground. Now he affects the quarterback a lot, but the actual getting of the quarterback on the ground is something that I think he can do a better job of, and I know he's hell bent on making that happen for us. But there's always something you can get better at. He's always working at something, and I think he's grown as a person. He continues to grow as a player. You'd like to feel like he's sort of hitting his prime at this point, with the experience that he has and the amount he's played, to get the best version of Jeff this year.
With Tajay Spears last year, difficult year, and he talked about that with us, where maybe his confidence was shaken a bit. Have you had conversation with him coming into this season, and what would you like to see out of him in terms of growth?
I'm glad you asked that question. Because one of the things about Tajay is I heard a lot about Tajay when I got here, about the type of person and the player that he was. And we've had conversations, but he did have a challenging year, both personally and professionally. And there was some things that we've had to sit and visit about on different occasions. And I give a lot of credit to him because he's had an unbelievable offseason in terms of his energy, his effort, his clarity, and what he wants to get done. So I've been really pleased with where Tajay's at. He's a great example, and it's not something that's maybe as easy for you guys to see, but his personal growth, I think, has been outstanding. And I'm really excited to see what he can bring to us this year because he's been in a great place and he's had a really nice offseason. Good.
Thank you.
All right, that is Titans head coach Brian Callahan opening up mandatory minicamp and opening up our show for us. And listen, we'd rather listen to the head coach talk than myself, Robert, or Buck, I imagine. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in to react to anything Titans head coach Brian Callahan said. Welcome to the show. If you're just joining us, here's kind of how things are working this week. Buck is at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. They are about to start practice for mandatory minicamp, and this will be the case today, tomorrow, and Thursday. We will open the show with Brian Callahan speaking. Tomorrow, coordinators will speak after Brian Callahan at the podium, and we will chat with Buck at noon to react to some of the stuff that Brian Callahan said. Look, there was a lot there. I mean, where to begin, right? Whether it's Cam Ward getting more reps than the other quarterbacks because of just where he's at from a developmental perspective. Okay, we also are kind of sitting over here like, yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod. He's also going to be the starting quarterback of this team. That is not something Brian Callahan has come out and said publicly. He was asked about Jermaine Pratt, the Bengals linebacker that was released. Obviously, Callahan working with him in the past, kind of leaving that door open as expected. And he led off with everybody's here. So Jeffrey Simmons, who was not there for voluntary OTAs, will be on the field as expected, right? Nobody was expecting Jeffrey Simmons to hold out of minicamp, but there's no contract issue that has been made public to this point. And that is typically the custom for Jeffrey Simmons, that he does his own work in voluntary OTAs, shows up for the mandatory stuff. I understand some of the ire from Titans fans and media as the Titans hit this cultural reset button from, down to the studs, right? From a foundational leadership perspective, you would prefer to have Jeff there. Absolutely. He is there this week. And then there's L'Jarius Sneed, who will not be getting any work in this week. And the Titans head coach had a little more to say about the former Chiefs corner that obviously has not given to the Titans what he showed with the Kansas City Chiefs in the best years of his career. So a lot of interesting stuff. We are also on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch is how you jump in on the F&M Bank chat. Hop in with your reaction to Brian Callahan and his press conference. We had a cool announcement earlier today as well. Titans Radio, the official team for 2025, announced with Will joining the squad as the sideline reporter for away games. Amy Wells back on the sideline for home games. Of course, the great Taylor Zarzer and Coach Mack will be the duo in the booth calling the games. Rhett Bryan, the executive producer, and myself as the pre- and post-game host. So if you missed that announcement, you can catch it in the last hour of the Ramon and Will podcast. Appreciated all of them coming in and very excited to get things rolling for 2025 as we kind of pass every step in the process of this offseason program. And as we heard from Coach Mack on Friday when he joined the show, there's nothing terribly different about what you can do in OTAs versus minicamp other than simply the amount of time. The amount of time spent on the field, in the classroom, at the facility is more extensive. You have more wiggle room there to work with Cam Ward, to stay after practice. So you can definitely grow in more leaps and bounds developmentally than you can in a short time period like voluntary OTA. So everybody's there for the Tennessee Titans. That is not the case across the NFL for many key players that are currently looking for a contract. We've got NFL headlines for you coming up later to hit on some of that. Again, Buck will join us at noon and then stick around at the end of the hour. Not yet, but at the end of the hour, we've got a cool giveaway for you for what made you say, oh no, in sports this week. So, loaded show for you. Mandatory minicamp is officially underway for the Tennessee Titans. We will react more to what Brian Callahan had to say at his opening press conference next on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back. Mandatory minicamp officially starts for the Tennessee Titans and across the NFL. And honestly, Bert, not that it's been a boring NFL offseason. I feel like it's lacked a tiny bit of drama. Like the Myles Garrett thing carried a lot of weight, and that was Super Bowl week. But now that minicamp is getting fired up, there's drama all over the place. Aaron Rodgers has signed. He's going to speak to the media for the first time as a Pittsburgh Steeler today. There's a litany of star players, pass rushers specifically, that are looking for a new contract and are not showing up to minicamp. There's a certain quarterback in the South, in a Southern NFL market, that is showing up to minicamp but wants out. We'll get to all of that later. But I don't know. Things are juicy, it feels like, as mandatory minicamp gets fired up. For the Titans, there's not as much drama, which obviously is a good thing for this team that's just desperately trying to start pulling in the right direction.
And the drama isn't also just like, oh, he's not at minicamp. There's also drama, oh, he is at minicamp. And we'll get to this later with James Cook, like wanting a big deal with Buffalo. And he's like, nah, my house is on the market. I've told reporters that I want new money, but I'm still going to show up. I respect that, James Cook. I respect that.
So we will get to all of that, but of course you care about the Tennessee Titans. You care about Cam Ward, and you want to hear every morsel of information that you can from the Titans head coach, Brian Callahan, about your number one overall pick at quarterback, Cameron Ward. This was Brian Callahan earlier today, in case you missed it, talking about Cam Ward and just kind of seeing him sized up against the Titans defense in OTAs and what he's hoping to see throughout the course of minicamp.
Yeah, I thought it was a good day for him, and a good day doesn't necessarily mean a high-level performance, but it was a good day for him as a young player to see all the things that are coming at him. He did some really good things, and there was some cool stuff that he learned from that he maybe hadn't encountered before. First time out going against a blitz-heavy attack like our defense is, and presents a lot of problems, a lot of things you have to manage from the quarterback position, a lot of things maybe for the first time he's done. So that was really good to see. Plenty of things to coach off of on the tape. He understands things pretty quickly as far as what the looks are and what our answers are. He's done a nice job of catching up to those things, but really good first day. And the red zone's the other area too, where things happen a lot faster. The windows are tighter. The recognition happens quicker. The throws have to be on point, and so there's been really good learning down in the red zone too. So excited about all that process. There's something every day for him, which is a lot of our young players too. It's been good to work through all that stuff.
The guys are essentially in the middle of the field. Is that a fair assessment that he's particularly good at this stage in the middle?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. He's got a great feel for underneath coverage and underneath space. Understands where the landmarks are, understands the timing of those throws. It's a strength of his for sure at this point. And it's something we're going to keep working to highlight, and then we'll keep working to fill in where we think he can keep improving. So middle of the field is certainly something he's comfortable with and done a lot of, and that's translated so far to this level in practice.
That is Titans head coach Brian Callahan talking about what he has seen from Cam Ward to this point.
Which is good to hear, because that was one of the things I remember Cam Ward talking about, whether it was at his pro day when he was talking with Rand, or I think they were talking about working with defensive coordinators to see what people do and teams he could potentially face. I remember he was talking about the Dallas Cowboys and their defense and how the middle of the field is their weakness. So it's nice to hear that what he was excited about doing before he got in the league is translating to what he's doing in mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, and there's one thing about Ward and his game specifically that works in the Titans' favor in terms of what they did not have at the quarterback position last year. Like one of the biggest compliments for Cam Ward coming out is his pocket presence, right? That feel in the pocket. And that's not necessarily what Brian Callahan was referring to there, but think about how many different Titans sacks or turnovers could have been avoided last season just by even league average pocket presence, right? Not overreacting to a defender shifting or a look getting thrown at you that you weren't necessarily expecting. Cam Ward is going to get thrown into the fire. Like, make no mistake, there are going to be mistakes there. He's going to gamble on some throws that maybe don't come back to bite him at the college level that absolutely will at the NFL level. We might see it week 1 against the Denver Broncos against that defense. But I do think that Ward, given his strength coming out and just that presence, that feel of a defender on his backside and shifting over, not too many steps, but just the right amount to find that pocket of space to deliver a throw, that alone feels like it's worth I mean, a couple of wins for the Titans this year compared to last year, right? When so many of their losses came from just handing the opponent the ball and moments like that, drive-killing sacks because of overreactionary moments at the quarterback position.
You just opened up a can of worms that we're inevitably going to have to talk about this season where, okay, the phrase you said was maybe he throws one week one. Not all interceptions are created equal. I am going to be so upset if Cam Ward throws a pick week one and everybody's like, oh, it's the same thing as Levis. Remember when Will Levis did that? Not all interceptions are the same. If he throws an interception trying to fit a ball down the field in a deep or a tight window, I'm willing to live with that. If he is backwards farting balls out for dudes to catch and run back for a pick six, that is totally different. Those are elementary mistakes. So just to say up front, all interceptions are not created equal. If you hear, Cam Ward at whenever they go to joint camp, Cam Ward's tossing interceptions at joint camp, that's the place to throw them. Yeah. That's the place to figure out whether you can fit the ball in those windows.
Well, and the struggle is, trying to draw that line between, that's when that's supposed to happen, and, this is a bad omen. Because we had that same discussion with Will Levis last year, right? Like, that's the easiest way to argue against concern over turnovers and bad decision-making in training camp. Because, you could say, well, good, that's when the mistakes are supposed to happen. You can also say, but you'd like to see him not happen as much when he's about to take the field in real games.
I still think there was a clear line last year, and we were all drinking the Kool-Aid, so who knows where we were at this point. But the interception we've alluded to a number of times, I know Don Davenport has on 3HL, with Seahawks joint camp, where he targeted Mason Kinsey in the flat, and his first pass was intercepted. And, that is not a pass. He's in the flat. What do you mean you don't know how to fit the ball there? Yeah. That's not a difficult throw. You're not practicing getting the ball to Mason Kinsey. That's a dumb throw. So, as long as we're not hearing, an interception on a screen or something like that, then I'm going to be willing to give Cam Ward more grace with his interceptions, typically.
Yes. We hopefully can pick and choose on what is more concerning than, what moments are more concerning than others when it comes to training camp. But they're not in training camp yet. They're in minicamp. And Brian Callahan talking about giving Cam Ward more quarterback reps just from a developmental standpoint. So we don't have this, do we, Robert?
I don't believe so, but I can work on it.
No, you're good. I wasn't quite sure. We can play it in the noon hour as well. So that's the first time that Callahan has kind of acknowledged. Because remember, he told us from the jump at OTAs, listen, Don't get worked up about reps right now. Don't get worked up about who's with the ones, who Cam Ward is playing with. It's all mixing and matching all over the place. Slightly different tune going into minicamp where it's, he's taking more of the reps, but it's because of where he's at in terms of coming into this offense. And obviously he has more ground to cover with the install than the likes of Will Levis, who's been in this offense, and Brandon Allen, who's been around as an NFL veteran. So you understand that. It's kind of Brian Callahan's way, it feels like, of saying, he's getting more reps. He's our starting quarterback, but I'm not going to tell you he's our starting quarterback. He went on to praise Will Levis and the other quarterbacks. And I believe that Will Levis is having a good offseason. I also could see why it's difficult for Brian Callahan, if you were to get inside the mind of the Titans head coach, to trust a Will Levis offseason, right? Because he trusted Will Levis's offseason last year. Will Levis did a lot of the things that Brian Callahan wanted to see from him throughout the course of training camp. Brian Callahan said as much. I mean, we've referenced that interview with Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, that the Titans coaching staff was taken aback at just how drastic the mistakes were from the quarterback position last year. But I do believe that Will Levis has had a good offseason because he has to, right? It's easy for Titans fans to dismiss Will Levis, but this is a huge year for Will Levis. Whether he's competing for the backup job here or for a job elsewhere, I tend to think it would be the latter. If I'm Will Levis, I would want it to be the latter, right? You would want it to be a fresh start, I would imagine. In order for that to happen, you have to have good OTAs, minicamp, training camp, and good showings in the preseason to have a team come calling, to be willing to take a risk on that upside, the way the Green Bay Packers did with Malik Willis last year, shipping over a 7th-round pick, and that worked out pretty well. And Malik Willis is QB2 in Green Bay. And Jordan Love has had injury issues, and Malik Willis has played, and he's played well. So if the Titans and Will Levis can get into that same situation, that would be favorable for both parties, I think. Will Levis, though, has to show it. So this is a huge offseason for the former Kentucky QB. 615-737-1045. That is the number, as it is Dad's Week. And we've got some stuff to give away for Dad with Father's Day coming up. Robert Walsh, what do we have in the prize bucket for what made you say, oh no, in sports this week?
Oh, we got a great dad giveaway. If you're looking for a gift for Dad for Father's Day, then look no further, because if you win oh no this week, then you are going to get 2 tickets to the Outlaw Music Festival. And you might go, who the hell is that? Why do I care about the Outlaw Music Festival? Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, the Night Sweats, which is what I get when I eat too much meat before bed, all of that and more at the Outlaw Music Fest. So if you tell us what your oh no in sports this week is, I'm going to send you out there to get a little high with Willie.
Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan. I think that's all you need to hear to get Dad on board to go to that show.
We also need tickets for that.
I think so too. Neither of us are fathers. We are cat fathers.
Yeah, cat
Does
dads,
this count?
Cat dads count.
Does that work?
I don't get a gift from them, so I assume I need to go out and outsource my own gift.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should pull some strings. But for these purposes, 615-737-1045, that's the number. Tell us what made you say, oh no, in sports this weekend. And the best submission will get 2 tickets to take Dad, or whoever you want, to the Outlaw Music Festival. We'll do that next on 1045 The Zone. Friends, if you're new to Nashville or you've been here a long time, odds are you've got a clean-out project that is long overdue. Hey, it's Lucas Panzica to tell you that the most reliable folks I know that can help you are the folks over at J&J Services. For over 20 years, J&J Services have been providing dumpsters for local businesses, construction sites, home cleanouts, and demolitions. They provide commercial dumpster service for your favorite restaurants and convenience stores. They provide roll-off dumpster service for everyone from 60-story high-rises to your neighbor's farm. J&J Services can offer trash compactors as well, making those large loads a little bit smaller, and they can even supply you with porta potties for your special events. So whether you're hosting a bunch of people for a big party or event, or you've got just a bunch of junk in the garage that you want to get rid of, for the safest, most reliable service that you can get in Middle Tennessee, call J&J Services today for a free quote at 615-599-7778. That's 599-7778, or jnjservices.com, where they always keep it trashy. 615-737-1045. That is how you jump in. Give us your submission for what made you say, oh no, in sports this weekend. And the best submission, Robert Walsh, gets what?
They are going to get to go to the Outlaw Music Festival's 10th anniversary tour with Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, the Night Sweats, Nathaniel Rateliff. All kind of people are going to be out there.
Nathaniel Rateliff in the Night Sweats.
Well, hell, I didn't know who he was. Oh, so
Good
he's
band.
The lead singer.
Yes, that's right.
So I was assuming the Night Sweats were their own entity.
No, that would be a good band name. But
or a great bar name.
He is Nathaniel.
You guys going to Night Sweats?
Hey, guys, I'll catch you at Sweats.
Are you going to be at Sweaties tonight? Hey, but it's Dad's Week on 104.5 The Zone. And if you're looking for a gift for your dad for this Father's Day, then tune in June 9th through the 13th as we give you chances to win for Dad tickets, events, concerts, and more. This year, give Dad the best. Listen for a chance to win prizes for like from the Braves, Nashville SC, the Sounds, Live Nation, all of that. So just listen this week for your chance to get Dad something, and you ain't even got to pay for it.
That's right. Totally free. Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan. Are you kidding me? So, 615-737-1045 is the number. Robert, would you like to lead us off?
I would. I don't know if everyone else shares the sentiment that I'm about to share, but I'm over Oz the Mentalist.
Oh.
Who do you think you are? You're not that smart. Here's my problem. Everyone likes to make a big to-do at it to the point where I think he visits all 32 NFL teams. He visits every media branch that could possibly be talking about something. He was on Good Morning Football or somebody else this morning. They put out a 6-minute clip. Can you believe this guy knows my ATM codes? Shut up. It's a sham. I don't know how he's doing it, but it's fake. It's not real. It's fugazi. It's a woozy. It's a wazi. Stop listening to this guy. Either he is in the wrong profession. And let me tell you, if I could guess people's PIN codes, if I was smart enough to derive some kind of information from the way that you write your name or the way that you lift your eyebrows, you should be working for the CIA. You should be helping the world be a better place, rid it of all of these evil people. Be a hostage negotiator. Do something. But instead, you're gallivanting these skills around on TV. Oh, look, I'm a wizard. You aren't anything. You haven't done a single magic trick besides be able to tell me who my favorite player was or what my first pet was. I'm over Oz the Mentalist. Stop parading him around for us. It doesn't entertain me anymore because I think they're all fake at this point. There's no way this dude could be balancing this juggling act on the tip of his nose like a seal for this long unless he was a witch, in which case we need to burn him at the stake, or he's faking it. So Oz the Mentalist, you are my oh no. I will no longer be clicking your videos or listening to any interview you do because you're a sham.
He was on Get Up this morning.
Get Up.
On ESPN.
We need to get off.
So you
because
think
dude needs to not be on TV anymore. I'm over it.
You think he should be using his powers for the good of the world, to solve world hunger,
needs to be
not
Harry
blow
Potter.
the minds of NFL locker rooms?
Go be Frodo. Go be Gandalf the Grey or the White or be Harry Potter. Go be a wizard that does good instead of telling Joe Burrow what name he wrote down on a whiteboard that's not facing you. It's just stupid.
I have often confused Oz the Mentalist with Dr. Oz. I guess he is in his own way a doctor, but I very often confuse those two. One of them is a senator. I don't even know which one at this point.
Dr. Oz was the guy who would be like, eating a lot of salt and actually that's bad for you. You'd go into your grandma's house or like you'd play hooky from school and go to one of the basic cable channels and he'd be like, you could eat a grapefruit every day and lose 15 pounds. That's Dr. Oz. Oz the Mentalist is like, you're thinking of a number. It's 6, isn't it? That's Oz the Mentalist.
Oh my God, it is. 615-737-1045 for what made you say, oh no, in sports this week for a chance to get 2 tickets to the Outlaw Festival. Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson, a chance to take Dad this summer. All right, I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson. Now, we obviously know that Anthony Richardson is out for the rest of OTAs. And that head coach Shane Steichen has said that he will be back at some point in training camp. Not he'll be ready for camp. Not he'll be back after minicamp. At some point during training camp. Could be late July. Could be middle of August. Could be a week before the season starts. Who's to say? But Albert Breer gave some new information on the situation with Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. And this is what made me say, oh no, in sports this week, because it is literally making Colts fans say, oh no, across the internet. And Robert's on the phone. Give me the green light if you can play it. This is Albert Breer talking about Anthony Richardson.
But it was the second day of OTAs that they shut him down. He's going to go visit with Dr. Neil Elatrash. I believe that's going to happen this week to go and get it checked out.
Oh, you don't want to hear that name, man.
And Elatrash was the one who did the surgery initially. So it's one of those, Rich, where it's like, I mean, when you're talking about like the soreness coming back in the shoulder, and no, he hasn't had surgery yet, but he's going to have more opinions on it. It just gets you worried, so I would say I take both of them very seriously because, anything to do with a quarterback's throwing shoulder, elbow, wrist, whatever is serious. But, when it's a repeat thing, that's where it's like, oh boy, so yeah, I think it seems, at least right now, like there's a really good chance Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts in Week 1, and Anthony Richardson faces a lot of uncertainty going forward.
Anthony Richardson era in Indianapolis feels over, doesn't it? It feels over.
Also, if something's wrong, if something's broke, go get it fixed. Like, oh, he's going to go get a second opinion. For what? So they can tell you it's broken too? Like, you've been hurt since you got into the NFL. I don't think a second opinion is going to change that fact. So if it's broke, go have surgery. Get back when you get back. Like, if you're not going to win this job Week 1, though, and maybe this is the reason he is trying to stay on the field, I don't think it's going to be his job going back to him. I don't think it's going to be a Bryce Young situation where we're going to sit him down for a little bit, and once he gets settled in, we're going to bring him back in. It's year 3.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like with the Titans and Will Levis, the shocking amount of calls we got the other week talking about wanting to see the Titans kind of try to stick with Will Levis, make it an actual competition, which isn't going to happen. In the case of the Titans, this regime doesn't have time to see if Will Levis will be a good quarterback. Maybe he will be. They don't have time to sit and figure that out. The Colts don't have time to give it another year with their top 5 pick. Shane Steichen, Chris Ballard, they're in job preservation mode. So they don't have that sort of leash to give it another year to see what you got. Daniel Jones is going to start for the Colts this season, and Anthony Richardson has just made it easy on him by being out until at some point in training camp with the shoulder injury. So we'll see what the future holds for Anthony Richardson. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in for a chance to win tickets to the Outlaw Music Festival. Peyton in Hendersonville leads us off. Hey, Peyton.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
Good, man. What you got?
So my oh no is there's a kid, I believe he's in college, and he has a $13 parlay going on right now. The last 2 legs he needs is the Edmonton Oilers and the OKC Thunder to win their respective championships, and the total payout's like $270,000. After the Oilers have gotten off to their start they have in the first 3 games, his cash out before it started was around 140-something thousand. Now it's plummeted way, way, way down. So that's my oh no, because when you spend $13 and you can win $140,000, just go ahead and cash out. That's my oh no.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Peyton. It's a good one.
That kid didn't need that money. What was that kid going to use that money on? Candy?
Like Little Debbie
drugs
snacks or something.
What do kids use their money on now?
Chuck in Clarksville is next. Chuck, go ahead.
Hey, Lucas and Robert. My oh no is last night, Murray State, not bottom of the 9th inning against Duke. They're up 1 run. Duke's got a man on first. Duke guy grounds out to the shortstop. He flips it to second. Second baseman's going to go throw it to first for a double play, and the Duke player trips him. So the umpire says, out, game over, shirt's coming off, dog pile on the mound, hat's coming off, champagne's coming out, and then, we got a review of this. They go to the review, and they say, I safe it first. They got to go back out on the field and get one more out, and Duke's got their home run hitter coming up. But luckily, he grounds out to first, and McMurray's still going. But that's my oh no. How can you imagine having to know you're going to Omaha, and then all of a sudden the umpire says, no, we're going to play another out.
It's a great submission, Chuck. Leader in the clubhouse, man. Murray State. Oh, Chuck dropped off, so he can't get the tickets. Murray State.
Call us back, Chuck.
I think they could fit 800 people in their ballpark on campus. Their head coach cuts the grass. in the outfield. And they're headed to Omaha. Like, just an incredible story, not that far from us.
Must be nice. Chris Pollard, by the way, Duke's head coach, is also about to be poached. I do believe I saw someone talking this morning that Virginia is going to poach Duke. So now they're going to lose Mike Elko back to Texas A&M.
Oof.
Now they're the baseball coach that got them to, like, really rolling. They're going to lose him to Virginia.
Man, just a feeder at this point. Steve in Murfreesboro's next. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. My oh-no goes out to ESPN. Last Sunday night's baseball game, the New York Yankees, Chaz Chisholm, I think is how you pronounce his name, was caught mid-spin trying to throw to first base, and the ball sailed wide, and he let out a curse word that was heard throughout the stadium. The real kicker is he was being interviewed live at the time. Yeah, because nothing says professionalism like distracting a player mid-play.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Yeah, that's an instance where the in-game interviews can backfire, something Major League Baseball has layered into their ESPN coverage, which is going away, as we know. ESPN and MLB divorcing after this year. Tyler in Kentucky, remember to stay on hold if you want to win the tickets. If you drop off, then you lose your chance. Tyler in Kentucky is our last submission.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, Tyler, what you got?
Chuck actually stole mine. I was going to go with the same thing about Murray State because I watched the game last night.
Okay. All right.
Unfortunately, you
gone.
lose.
Did you drop him or did he hang
I
out?
slammed the hammer down on him.
Poor Tyler.
Just kidding,
No
Tyler.
backup option. All right, Chuck, you are headed to Outlaw Music Festival. Appreciate the call. Appreciate everybody hanging out. All right, a lot more Titans and NFL coverage to get to later in the show. But coming up next, there was one of the biggest heel turns in sports yesterday that I have seen in a very long time. We'll tell you what that is and want you to tell us the biggest heel turns you have ever seen in sports history. 615-737-1045. We'll do that next on 1045 The Zone.
The Tennessee Men's Clinic is such a great resource. It's been such a great resource for guys over the last decade plus working here in Middle Tennessee. And at some point in your life, as your body starts to change, as you start to age, you may be feeling like you've got a little less energy. You may be feeling like performance issues have started to pop up, and you may have resigned yourself to the fact that those things just happen. It doesn't have to be that way. Whether it's low energy or those performance issues that I mentioned, those aren't inevitable. And in fact, solutions exist. The Tennessee Men's Clinic difference is that there's no guesswork and no gimmicks, just real science and effective treatments. Because you don't want to mess with online fixes that oftentimes give you generic pills that are overpriced and most times ineffective. They will offer you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic personalized treatment plans with multiple urologists and providers on hand to tailor solutions specifically to your body and to your goals. Their men's services are comprehensive, whether it's ED treatments or testosterone and other options that many guys don't even know exist. Call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or visit them online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com today.
What's going on? 11:03. Good afternoon it ain't even afternoon yet. From the 104.5 The Zone Studios, I am Robert Walsh. Titans back on the field for mandatory minicamp. Brian Callahan spoke to the media earlier today, gave us a little update on L'Jarius Sneed and where he is at in his return to the field.
I think everything that he's shown us when he's here has been fantastic, and there's a track record of success as well from what he has been as a player. But he's also got to prove that here too. He hasn't done that yet for us. So there's a little bit of that as well. Like, we're waiting for him to show us, the player that he's been. He hasn't reached that level of play for us, and so we're waiting for that opportunity to occur. And I think he'll be ready for it when it comes. But his track record of success and what he's been as a player is pretty well documented. We just hope we need to get that version of him out here for us.
But all is not well around the league as some of the biggest stars are missing mandatory minicamp. It was reported this morning Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin would not be at Commanders camp, as well as Bengals and Steelers star pass rushers Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt, who were number 1 and number 2 in the NFL in sacks over the past 2 seasons. And in hockey, taking advantage of the Edmonton Oilers' worst performance in several weeks, the defending Florida Panthers pounced on mistakes to win Game 3 in a rout 6-1 Monday night and take a 2-1 series lead. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back. Titans mandatory minicamp. They are on the practice field as we speak. Buck will check in at noon with an update. He won't necessarily be able to tell us what he has seen at practice, but a lot to talk about from Brian Callahan's press conference earlier today. Cam Ward, the reps that he's getting at minicamp. L'Jarius Sneed not getting any work in as he continues to come back from injury. Some interesting stuff from the head coach that you heard in Robert Walsh's update. I'm Lucas Panzica. He and I with you until 1 o'clock. Of course, we are, as always, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken on the planet. But we pivot for a brief moment because there was one of the bigger heel turns that I've seen in sports in a long time yesterday. And most of you don't care, nor should you, about turnover under Mark Stoops with his Kentucky football coaching staff. But yesterday, Pete Thamel of ESPN reported that Kentucky associate head coach Vince Marrow is expected to become the general manager of the Louisville football program. As he finalizes a 3-year deal there, he will oversee roster management, recruiting, and the NCAA transfer portal. Now, any SEC fans that are chronically online, namely Tennessee fans that have spent plenty of time going after Kentucky fans on social media, know who Vince Marrow is. He is and has been one of the most front-facing members of Kentucky football on social media when it comes to arguing with fans on social media. He has also essentially been Mark Stoops' right-hand man since Mark Stoops was hired December of 2012. Over a decade. Let me remind you, Mark Stoops is the longest tenured active coach in the SEC. Vibes aren't great at Kentucky right now. They're coming off a miserable 4-win season. And Vince Marrow, who has coached tight ends, he's been associate head coach, he's been recruiting coordinator, he has done everything for Mark Stoops at Kentucky, heads across the Bluegrass State to take over the Louisville football program as the general manager. Robert Walsh, clearly it's a promotion for Vince Marrow. I'm sure a better opportunity for a program that's on a better trajectory with Jeff Brom as the head coach, as opposed to just how stale things have gotten under Mark Stoops. But all that aside, this is a crazy heel turn in college football. I mean, this is like a dumbed-down version of going from Michigan to Ohio State, right? Going from Alabama to Auburn. Kentucky and Louisville despise each other. It is a deep-seated hatred, and it's my favorite kind of rivalry in college football. The kind of rivalry that's not between two teams that expect to be competing for championships, right? The kind of rivalry that one team can be 4-8, one can be, or 4-7, one team can be 6-5, and that game feels like a Super Bowl, right? Like the Egg Bowl oftentimes was over the course of that series. So this got me thinking about the biggest heel turns in sports history. And I'm curious what comes to mind for you guys. 615-737-1045. We put it to a poll at Lucas Panzica, open-ended, where you can reply. And we've gotten some really good submissions. Do you have one that comes to mind?
I have a ton of them. Would you rather have a college football example or would you rather have an NBA example?
Give me a college football example of pure betrayal.
Mac Brown turning his back on the Tar Heels to go be the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. Mac Brown was like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be in Carolina. And we're going to be so good. And then he left. And then when he came back, there were a lot of Carolina fans that were still like, bleep Mac Brown. Dude, you left us high and dry. I wouldn't say Lane Kiffin because Lane Kiffin was young and hot. Mac Brown was still kind of medium, old, and flabby. But Mac Brown doing that. But in my mind, the first two that came to mind, oddly enough, were in the NBA. LeBron choosing to not stay in Cleveland and go to Miami, was vilified, burning jerseys. That was the first instance of jerseys being burned that I can remember. And Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, where everyone called him a snake and a cupcake, and, oh, you just want the easy schedule, you just want a coat ride to get a ring. Both of those were the first things that came to mind.
Those are all good ones. The Mac Brown thing, like, I get it. If you're a fan and your head coach is telling you he's not going anywhere and he's getting buzz for other jobs. But like North Carolina fans can't sit there and realize, like, it's Texas. We're talking about the Texas job, which at that time the Texas job is always one of the best jobs in college football. But at that point, especially, like, it's hard for me to fathom, Robert, North Carolina fans upset about their head coach leaving a basketball school to go coach the Texas Longhorns. No matter what he said, that seems crazy to me, right? That seems crazy that there wasn't any level of rationale of lip service from Mac Brown, but understanding, like, when Texas comes calling, you can maybe count on one hand the amount of programs that you would spurn Texas for.
Yada, 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 you SEC homers. He is just...
It is an SEC school.
Now it is, but it wasn't at that point.
No, it wasn't.
So this is... The whole reason it felt like a backstab to Carolina fans was because the football team had always been overshadowed by the basketball team. And Mac Brown finally had football operating at such a high level that it was rivaling the basketball team. So everybody felt like, okay, we've really arrived. We're rather than just being a prominent basketball school, we are a prominent sports school. And I would still say Carolina, like in the Gatorade all sports, like when like Stanford's first because their women's swimming is really good. Like, Carolina is still involved in that. I think a lot of fans were just backstabbed by the way it happened.
I gotcha.
That was my North Carolina example. Next time, I'll just stay back here. It's okay. It's okay. Hey. Why the hell would anybody be mad at somebody for leaving? You have no reason to be mad about Lane Kiffin then. I'm glad Lane Kiffin left. I'm glad he went to USC was an infinitely better program than Tennessee was at that time. Why? How can you be mad at anyone for leaving? I can't believe you. Look at you, old pot kettle meeting. Like, come on.
Great usage of the pot kettle phrase. I get where you're coming from, and you're right. USC was in a far better place. USC was coming off the Pete Carroll years, while Tennessee was coming out of the Philip Fulmer tenure, bottoming out, and Kiffin trying to revive that program. So I get your point. 615-737-1045. OG on the F&M Bank chat says McNair to the Ravens was hurtful, which I get. Titans didn't want to bring back Steve McNair, and the Ravens did. So I do understand the pain, though, for Titans fans continuing to see Titans legends go play for the Baltimore Ravens. Puka says it is a huge promotion. You don't turn down this kind of promotion, talking about Vince Marrow, the Kentucky associate head coach, going to be the GM at Louisville. Now, if it was a lateral move, that would be a heel turn. Tyler brings up Henry To'oTo'o. That's a very good one. Again, you understand the decision from Henry To'oTo'o for his future at that time, but yet still going directly to a rival like Alabama. That is a tough thing for fans to swallow. Bradley on the F&M Bank chat has honestly what I think might be the winner here, and that is Texas A&M baseball coach Jim Schlossnagle going to Texas. He says those are two schools that hate each other. Added to the success that A&M was having on the diamond last year. Jim Schlossnagle had all kind of lip service when he was hired at A&M about, I'm here because, Texas A&M is the kind of job you take when you don't want to take any other jobs, yada, 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 my family, blah, blah, blah. They lost in the national championship series to Tennessee. And then he went directly to Texas. That's right up there when it comes to, I guess we could call that a lateral move. The prestige of the Texas program definitely looms over A&M, but in terms of resources, facility, that's as close as it's ever been. That's right up there, though. 615-737-1045. Eric is up first for his biggest heel turn. Hey, Eric.
Hey, guys, I got a good one. Dennis Rodman leaving the bad boy Detroit Pistons to go to the Chicago Bulls. That is, I believe, a good one. Because, of course, they were hated rivals, couldn't stand each other. And, of course, Rodman was part of that bad boy Detroit Pistons, all that type of stuff, and to leave them and go to the Bulls. So he went from one championship team to another one, but they couldn't stand each other.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Eric. It's a good one. It's a good submission. Atticus in Bowling Green is next. Great name. Go ahead, Atticus.
My heel turner for you is, how about Mike McCarthy leaving Green Bay and ultimately winding up in Dallas? What the heck was that?
Thanks for the call, Atticus. Sounds like you're from there. That's fantastic. I will say Bill Belichick going from Jets to Patriots. Understanding the Patriots traded for Bill Belichick, but to be named the Jets head coach, resign on a napkin a day later, and then go to your divisional rival in New England, that's up there as well. I think I stand by Bradley with the best submission of Jim Schlossnagle going from A&M head baseball coach, taking them to the national championship series, talking about how he never wanted to leave Texas A&M, and then spurning them to go to the Texas Longhorns. I don't know, man. It doesn't get much worse than that.
All right, somebody has texted me a soccer one, and you have to tell me if there's any validity to this. The guy's name is Luis Figo.
Luis Figo, okay.
He went from Barcelona to Real Madrid.
Yep.
Is that worthy of this, or can I shame my friend?
That's very worthy. I mean, any Barcelona Real Madrid is, any bridge crossed between those two can be considered one of the biggest heel turns.
Apparently, Camp Now threw a pig's head at him.
Yes, that would be the Barcelona Stadium.
Why are you so calm about this? An entire pig's head?
It's European soccer, baby. Luis Figo was a Portuguese star, mega star, late 90s, early 2000s. Barcelona to Real Madrid is as big of a heel turn as you can get in world sports. A pig's head. That's right. Hell, I've seen worse thrown at players on European soccer fields. 615-737-1045. One more before we get out of here for some NFL headlines. Mr. Donkey up next. Hey, Donkey.
Hey, what's up? Didn't know if I wanted to do Bill Walton leaving the Lakers, going to the Celtics, or our local turncoat, Doug Matthews, playing at Vanderbilt and going up there to the enemy on the hill at Knoxville.
Oh, thank you for the call, Mr. Donkey.
Shameful.
Hey, no, we don't shame Coach Doug Matthews around here.
Hey, by the way, got to give Coach a shout out. He is on Twitter now. If you are not following Doug, you need to go on Twitter right now. Doug Matthews 1T615. Follow him on Twitter. He's sharing all of his years of coaching knowledge with you. You would be a fool not to follow him on Twitter.
Doug Matthews, like Matthews is spelled with one T.
Yes, correct.
The handle doesn't. Yeah.
Doug Matthews 615 is his handle.
Tune in Saturday and Sunday morning every weekend. All right, we're going to keep taking these calls. Keep them coming. 615-737-1045. We'll mix them in throughout the course of the show. But coming up next, a lot of big-name players not showing up to minicamp. We'll tell you who and why next on 1045 The Zone. Plenty of headlines to come with mandatory minicamp getting fired up across the NFL, including here. And the news is about who's not in attendance more than who is. Not the case in Tennessee. Everybody's there, according to Brian Callahan, Jeffrey Simmons included. He was really the only omission from voluntary OTAs. L'Jarius Sneed not getting work in. That is due to injury. But as far as attendance is concerned, Titans are working at 100%, according to the head coach, who turned 41, by the way, today. So should we wish a happy birthday to one Brian Callahan?
And happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
41 years old. He is the sage of the AFC South. He is the wisest, oldest coach in the division, some would say, in a division that ranges from the age of 39 to 41 now.
Is Shane Steichen younger than he is?
Yes. I too, was surprised by that because, with no offense to Shane Steichen, I probably would have guessed closer to 50, but he's 40 years old. He just turned 40 in May.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you got D'Amico Ryans and Liam Cohen, who are right there at 39, 40. So it's crazy that all four coaches in the division are that close, that all could have graduated in the same class or at least 1 year apart. But that's where we are. So all four coaches with a lot to prove this year, Brian Callahan included. We'll hear more from him in the noon hour. Buck will also join us at noon. But before we get to those headlines, wrapping up a couple of your phone calls, we were talking about Vince Marrow, the long-time Kentucky assistant head coach, going to be the GM of Louisville. Just a crazy heel turn in sports. Understand it's a promotion, but yet still, with that rivalry and how heated it gets. So 615-737-1045, taking a couple more calls on your favorite heel turns in sports. David in Clarksville's next. Hey, David.
Hey, sir. My favorite, one of the most storied franchises in the NFL history, one of the best players to ever touch the football, Mr. Brett Favre. Turns his back on Green Bay, spits on them, and goes to Minnesota.
Thanks for the call.
To this playoff.
Appreciate the call, David. It didn't go directly to Minnesota, right? But yet still, any Packer quarterback that ends up in Minnesota as a Viking, that's a good submission. He got booed mercilessly at Lambeau Field. Darrington in Nashville is up next. Hey, Darrington.
My brother. Hey, just for comical, I got one major that hurt me, and then one just comical. One great one is John Cena. But one that hurt me was when growing up as a Philadelphia Eagle fan, watching T.O. go to Dallas. Oh my gosh, turned my insides out. And then also just pissing me off was watching Deion leaving San Francisco, coming to Dallas too. As a rivalry, gosh, I hated Dallas back then even more. But yeah, that was my submission.
All good submissions, Darrington. Appreciate the call as always. T.O. going from Philly to Dallas and being more productive in Dallas than he was in Philly.
It seems to me like, and I wonder, you would have more experience in the AFC South on this than I would. It seems like the NFC North does more kissing cousins free agent signings than any other division in football, where it's like, if the Packers cut somebody, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Bears are all going to be interested, and they'll potentially sign somebody. Is it like that for the AFC South?
I would say...
It's time for mandatory minicamp headlines with Lucas Panzica. I'm sorry, were you saying something?
You have never gotten anybody as good as you just got me there.
Did I have you hook, line, and sinker?
You had me so hook, line, and sinker. Like I was, and I even kind of knew the direction we were going there, but I was like, oh, well, we want to discuss this first before we start to do headlines. That was phenomenal. That was as good as some of your best jump scares here in the halls of Cumulus Nashville.
You can
right off Music
Row.
Feel
free to answer the question, though.
Masterful stuff. I would say not really.
I'm just kidding. I do want to know your answer.
No, I don't think so. I mean, what's the most prominent AFC South?
Like Jonathan Cyprien is the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, you got Jonathan Cyprien. Am I crazy to think that not Gabe Davis. He's still a free agent, yes?
He is still a free agent.
Yeah. I think maybe the Texans might have hosted him on a visit or something, and we talked. Christian Kirk, right?
Christian Kirk, yeah.
Christian Kirk is a Texan now. Not Gabe Davis. I'm thinking of the other former Jags receiver. So that was a rare intra-division move, but I would say no. I don't think it happens terribly often. What also doesn't happen terribly often is the Cincinnati Bengals paying big-time money to star players not named Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase. And that seems to be the case at the moment with star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson, who unsurprisingly is not reporting for Bengals minicamp. It just feels like this thing is escalated. It feels like, Robert, and tell me if you disagree, of all these names that we're about to throw out here of guys not showing up, doesn't this feel like the most tense situation?
100%, especially because it's like a beehive somebody's kicked over there anyway with Shamar Stewart, the issues they were having with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins earlier in the offseason. I mean, even think back, the last time they had a huge defensive free agent that this was going on with, Jesse Bates. They franchise tagged him twice, and then he ended up going to Atlanta. So, they have a history of not paying their best players when it's time to pay them. And this is probably something he saw coming. If you're in that locker room and your teammates with Jesse Bates, he's like, yep, they did it again. Yeah, they're not going to pay me. You've seen this with the best players on your team. So, if I'm Trey, I'm like, you're not going to do this to me. I will be petty. I will lose money. I'm not going to play for you. I've seen you do this to far too many of my teammates and people throughout history. So, it definitely feels the most tense just because it has been brewing for so long.
By the way, the F&M Bank chat is just peppering me with moves that have happened inside the AFC South. Danico Autry, Colts to Titans. Calvin Ridley, Jags to Titans. Andre Johnson basically played with the whole damn division. So Arden Key, Jags to Titans. So
you don't have to just use these in the chat, guys. You can give us a call, 615-737-1045. I'd love to hear your AFC South kissing cousins free agent signings because I'm fascinated. I think every division does this to a certain extent, but I think the NFC North does it the best.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for sure. This Trey Hendrickson thing, I mean, it just doesn't look like it's anywhere close to getting figured out. This is from Ben Baby of ESPN. Hendrickson's only appearance during offseason workouts was to speak to reporters to detail the situation between himself and the team. Showed up in street clothes, right? Said he had no intention of playing on the final year of his current contract. He is seeking a long-term deal with guaranteed money, while the team, according to Hendrickson, is seeking a short-term contract. This is a guy who had 17 sacks each of the last 2 seasons. And I understand he's on the wrong side of 30, but this feels like a situation that is going to get worse before it gets better. It's just nowhere close to a resolution.
And if you have a smart enough general manager, there are ways to figure these things out. In quarterback situations, you'll sign somebody to a big deal. They want to have a big number. They want to be the highest paid guy. So you give them what they want. But in the actual contract breakdown over a 5-year deal, maybe the first 3 years of where they're going to actually make their money. And then year 4 and 5 have such a high cap hit that you would have to reevaluate the contract. You know what I mean? There's different ways to evaluate, different ways to skin a cat. You know what I mean? They could have done this we're going to give you the money up front, and then we'll give you half the money next year, and we can reevaluate where you're at with your contract. Something. But give the guy what he's worth. For at least, I think that you could start the argument being pay me this year what I am worth, and then give me some trickle down next year, and we can talk again. We'll go through this whole rigmarole again next year.
And then while we're on the Bengals, we've talked a lot about the first-round pick out of Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart, who they're trying to kind of carve into an edge rusher in the NFL. He also will not practice during mandatory minicamp, as the team and his reps have yet to finalize his rookie contract and its language. So Bengals will be without both Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart, who is there but just watching, not participating. Hendrickson's not even there.
I think it's worth noting that the player that was selected 1 pick before Shamar Stewart, who a lot of Bengals fans were clamoring for, Walter Nolan, just signed his rookie deal, 4 years, $19 million, 10 guaranteed, or 10 as a signing bonus. So the guy that if you were listening to draft coverage going into the draft, Walter Nolan was widely thought to have off-the-field concerns. I'm using air quotes. And he's showing up at camp. He's signing his deal. What's the deal with Shamar? I think the common thread is the Bengals are trying to hose people.
Because we were very much on the offensive at first on Shamar. Not to speak for you, but I know I for sure was. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Oh, no, I was very apologetic. No, we were upset at this dude. Show up,
and
man.
then now more information comes out about what the Bengals are trying to do that's a little bit unprecedented with what they've done with first-round picks in recent years. And you almost understand where Shamar Stewart's coming from. And you're right. The Bengals are the common thread here. Let me remind you, the Bengals had one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year. They fired defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. They have hired Al Golden to be their defensive coordinator. And now here they are with their best pass rusher and the guy that they drafted to potentially replace him not participating in minicamp. So trouble in paradise in Cincinnati. But you got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase done. They'll throw a lot of touchdowns in 2025, see if they can stop anybody. Speaking of edge rushers, TJ Watt is not in the building in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers is. He will be at minicamp this week after officially signing. But TJ Watt, according to Adam Schefter, is not attending mandatory minicamp amid his pursuit of a new contract. He is also entering the final year of his current deal with the Steelers. He skipped voluntary OTAs earlier this offseason, attempting to negotiate a new deal. If he misses all 3 days of minicamp, this is from ESPN, Watt would be subject to nearly $105,000 in fines. The Steelers open their minicamp Tuesday, where Rodgers is expected to practice with his new teammates for the first time. Reminder that Watt signed a 4-year, $112 million deal. That was in 2021. That averaged $28 million per season. And then Myles Garrett reset the pass rushing market a few months ago with his record deal. TJ Watt turns 31 in October. Where should we expect this to go with TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers? He's in a very different place than Trey Hendrickson. They're similar in age. Hendrickson has more production to show for it in the last couple of years, but TJ Watt, 19 sacks 2 seasons ago, 11 and a half sacks last year. So where things stand right now with TJ Watt and the Steelers suddenly becomes the most interesting narrative coming out of Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers making his way there. How do we expect this to come to a conclusion?
I fully expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to pay TJ Watt. If they were willing to pay a 175-year-old Cam Hayward top of the market, then they should be willing to pay a 31-year-old TJ Watt top of the market. It is what it is, but they have generally done well to reward their guys, and I don't think TJ Watt, if you're going to pick a time to be like, nah, I think we're going to skimp, I don't think I would do that with TJ Watt. I do that potentially with like Minka Fitzpatrick or somebody else that's not as franchise defining as this guy. Like, how many defensive player of the years that the Steelers had? How many guys have they had that have been of that same ilk, cut from the same cloth, that uphold that steel curtain mindset? In my opinion, they have no choice but to pay him. I think it's just a wait for semantics to get through how much do you want to get paid here? How much do you want to get paid here? Do you want to be the highest paid pass rusher? Okay, give them money. That's what it is for me.
Yeah. Micah Parsons, by the way, says he will be at minicamp in Dallas. So this trio of edge rushers, 3 of the best in the NFL that have contract discussions that are kind of up in the air at the moment. And Micah Parsons saying that he will be there as he also pursues a new deal.
I think it's also worth noting on the Steelers front before we move on, they have the highest paid defense in the entire NFL. Whether you look at everybody that's paid on both sides of the ball, they have the highest paid defense in the NFL. Why would you, if your best player on defense, to be like, you know what, we've invested so much money into this side of the ball, I think I'm not going to pay our best player.
Right.
That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
And then there's another high profile, and I won't say holdout quite yet, but absence at mandatory minicamp, and that's Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin. And Robert, this is one that I got to say I cannot figure out. This is a guy whose contract expires after this year with the Commanders. He was not at voluntary OTAs. He is obviously seeking a contract extension. The Washington Commanders brought in Deebo Samuel, paid him. Not astronomical money, 1-year deal, right? But paid him. Traded for Laramie Tunsil, paid him. Terry McLaurin sitting over there, like, I am the only threat that you have had at the wide receiver position for multiple seasons, and now that you have a quarterback that can get me the ball effectively, now you're going to want to skimp? Like, if you're the Washington Commanders, this is not the guy to play this game with, right? Just pay Terry McLaurin. even if it resets the damn wide receiver market.
Oh, God.
Right?
See, that's
it
too
won't.
much. Yeah,
it
you're right.
won't. It won't. It won't go past Jamar Chase. But to get into that tier, is Terry McLaurin not worthy of that? Like, would Titans fans not say that he is after watching the Titans botch the A.J. Brown situation?
I think it is two completely different scenarios. And this is just my opinion. I think Terry is worth paying, but I don't think Terry is worth breaking the bank for, and this is why. The only number that went up when Jaden Daniels became their starting quarterback was his touchdown numbers. Before that, he was a 4 to 5 touchdown a year guy. Do you know how many he had last year?
Daniel Jones?
No, Terry McLaurin.
Oh, I don't know why. Did you not just say Daniel Jones?
What? The Commanders quarterback is who I'm talking about.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
I was like, why is he talking about Daniel Jones? Okay.
13 touchdowns last year. He's going to be 30 this year, and it's not like he became an otherworldly wide receiver. At the end of the day, he's 1,000 yards a year. Like, he's not a 14. He's not going to go out there and win you a bunch of games. I think he is exiting his prime, and if the Commanders want to do the smart thing, I think you would let him play this year. Obviously, it's going to be hard to replicate him and Jaden's connection, but I would be looking to move Terry if I were the Commanders, just because he is on the wrong side. He was a 24-year-old rookie. He's an older guy. I think he is exiting his peak. It is not somebody I would want to tie my wagon to and not have funds for when you can actually acquire someone who is otherworldly, somebody who is a number one.
Okay.
And that's just for me. I think Terry is an exceptional wide receiver. I don't think he's a top 10 wide receiver.
All right, to talk about resetting the receiver market is extreme. You're right. You're right. Even though, as we know, the player that resets the market oftentimes is not the best player at that
I still think he would, if you could get him for Calvin Ridley money, 20 to 22 a year, I think he's going to want 26, 27, 28, and that is just a sizable investment for a dude that's going to be 30. And you are going to have to continue to pay him into his 30s. It's not like you're paying him at 28 and then he'll be 31 when this deal ends. No, he'll be 34 when a 4-year deal ends.
Well, he's going to turn 30 in September, like you mentioned. Terry McLaurin's such a fascinating player, right? Because nothing about him just stands out physically, but all he does, he's just productive. Think about the quarterback carousel the Commanders have had, and he's on 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons in the NFL.
And 1,000 yards is a good moniker of whether someone is good or not, but that's it. It's not like he's doing 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards. Who do you think needs each other more? Does Terry need Jaden Daniels and the Commanders more, or does Jaden Daniels and the Commanders need Terry more? I think that Terry needs the Commanders more than they need him.
They don't have any receivers.
Sure, but wasn't that the whole thing about Jaden Daniels last year was making everyone better, and they added Debo? You kept Zach Ertz. You drafted a tight end in Ben Sinnott last year who's a second-round guy. I think if he's really the quarterback you say he is, the same thing we said about Cam Ward, he's going to make guys that you don't know better. I think this is a tough decision that people have to make, but Terry's going to be 30.
Yeah.
How many successful 30-year-old wide receivers have there been?
Well, the age is absolutely the big thing here, right? Because in any other instance, when you have that guy, you keep him. And Titans fans know that well. But you're right. That's the big differentiator. But he just has shown no signs of slowing down. And now that they've given him help, bringing in Debo Samuel, did they draft a receiver? I'm not even positive off the top of my head.
I would have to check on that.
But now that they've given him help, they're going to skimp. I don't know. I tend to think this gets done. Commanders are a well-run organization now. Breaking news in the NFL. I tend to think this is going to get done with Terry McLaurin.
They drafted Jalen Lane in the 4th round.
Okay.
I know that guy KJ Osborne, who was formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, was with New England last year. They also brought in Noah Brown, who had a pretty good year after leaving the Texans, and I believe he got hurt. But, I mean, they have guys. Luke McCaffrey, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year. I'm not saying Terry's not worth it. I'm just saying he might not be worth it for the Commanders.
We'll see. I think the smart move here is to pay Terry McLaurin. We'll see what that number looks like.
Or just do the crappy thing, ride it out, franchise tag him next year, and make him pay under it.
Bengals are, definitely well-versed in that.
Quit stealing our plays.
Sign stealing in the NFL. 615-737-1045. We will go back to your phone calls, some more on the best heel turns in sports, and recap what Brian Callahan said about attendance at mandatory minicamp next on 1045 The Zone. Hey, it's Lucas to tell you about Hattie B's. 11:43. That means lunchtime, and it should mean the best hot chicken in the world in your future. Visit any one of their 7 locations, the factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport. When you're flying in and out of town, Hattie B's a family-run restaurant. It serves up your favorite Southern food, an authentic Nashville hot chicken, hand-breaded, cooked to order, add your spice level. Hot or not, that's the beauty of it. You might think hot chicken, you don't have to go nuts with it. Maybe you're that kind of person, which I respect. Or you could just get the Southern, which is just fantastic fried chicken, juicy with the crispy skin. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. And the sides, if you prioritize those like I do, are the best around. Southern greens, pimento mac and cheese, bacon, cheese grits, and so much more. Download the Hattie B's app today. You get a free dessert literally just by downloading the app. You can order for delivery or pickup. You can also bring the heat to your event, party, wedding, corporate function. Let Hattie be your guest of honor. HattieB.com or download the Hattie B's app today and go get you some Hattie B's hot chicken.
Guys, it's time to say goodbye to pain and hello to a better game with Burrow Chiropractic's revolutionary stem wave therapy. Whether you're a golfer, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just somebody who's starting to get up there in age and your body's feeling a little more creaky than it used to. Stem wave therapy is a non-invasive, cutting-edge treatment designed to help golfers get back on the course pain-free. This advanced therapy uses sound waves to target and repair damaged tissue, providing natural, long-lasting relief. Now, my golf game is terrible whether I'm healthy or not, but something that's been bothering me is my shoulder. So they were able to give me some stem wave therapy to make sure that I got back up and running. My bum wing has never felt better than it does right now, and that is a credit to Burrow Chiropractic. Their expert team is dedicated to offering personalized care that caters to each individual's unique needs, and stem wave therapy is perfect for treating that chronic pain, that inflammation, and even old injuries. Plus, Burrow Chiropractic is proud to be the official chiropractic provider for Middle Tennessee football, ensuring their athletes stay in peak condition. So give them a call today at 615-410-7643. That's 615-410-7643, or visit them online at burrowchirotn.com.
Attendance, not quite an issue for the Titans at mandatory minicamp, but also for lack of players that would be in a position to be skipping mandatory minicamp. Brian Callahan talked a little bit about that earlier today. First, we go back to the phone, 615-737-1045, continuing down that thread of heel turns. Biggest heel turns in sports that you've experienced. RJ in Phoenix has one to chime in with. What's up, RJ?
What's going on, fellas, man? First of all, thank you for the tickets. Had an amazing time seeing Lil Baby, man.
Nice.
So, the thing that hurt me the most, man, was Peyton Manning going to the Colts, man. I rooted for Peyton Manning in Tennessee, man, and him at the Colts, I couldn't do it, man. It just wasn't right, man. That was the biggest hurt, man, Peyton Manning at the Colts.
Wait. RJ, you mean Peyton getting drafted to the Colts?
Yes, getting drafted to the Colts. I loved him at Tennessee, and when he went to the Colts as a Titans fan, I couldn't root for him.
I got you. Thanks for the call. I get where he's coming from, and that is one reason I will say why a lot of Tennessee fans that I know, close friends of mine, who and I object dearly, or I love them dearly, but I object to, as the resident fanhood police, Robert, I greatly object to Tennessee fans that became Colts fans just because of Peyton, when there's an NFL team right there in their backyard. Like, that used to drive me nuts growing up. The amount of people, I'm talking born and raised in East Tennessee, generational Vols fans that picked the Colts because Peyton went there. And Peyton got drafted there about the same time as the Titans were getting their foothold here.
Yeah, I totally get that, but I also hate players when they end up going somewhere that I don't like. Like, for example, ECU used to have this really good wide receiver. Not really good. He was a walk-on, but he was really good for us. He would catch like 15 passes a game, was a good punt returner, and he got signed by the Steelers, and he's dead to me. Like Tyler Snead, I will never be a fan of you again, unfortunately. He went and got cut from the team, and he's still dead to me because he went to the Steelers. Same thing with when you're doing draft prep and you really fall in love with a player, you're like, God, I hope my team grabs this guy in the 6th round. And then he ends up going to the Steelers. That was me with Tyler Matakovich, the Temple linebacker. Loved him. Thought he should have been the Buckus Award winner. And then he went to the Steelers. I was like, that guy sucks.
Now you naming a linebacker nobody's ever heard of from Temple that you have just this ire for because he betrayed you by getting drafted by the Steelers.
How dare he? Or even what was the cat with the Bengals had that was killing everybody?
Perfect?
Perfect. Coming out of there, Arizona State. It was like the 6th, 7th round.
Oh, you liked him coming out.
I was like, I hope the Ravens get perfect.
How dare he?
And then he goes,
how dare he pick up that phone?
With the Bengals? Dude's a bum. Get him out of here.
Oh, man. I respect your fanhood rationale. It's important to have that in sports. I have not been on that side of things, on like taking it out on the player. Like, you can be upset at the situation, but no, like Peyton getting drafted by the Colts is not a heel turn, although I get where RJ is coming from. Chad in the F&M Bank chat says that was very frustrating as a young Titans fan, which I totally understand. I understand that, especially if you were a Titans and Vols fan. But no, that shouldn't qualify as a heel turn, right? A heel turn is a decision made by somebody. A heel turn is Bobby Petrino leaving the Falcons in the middle of the night, right? And leaving, Post-its on the lockers of all of his players. That's a heel turn. Ramon has chimed in. Dirty Red is a dog, he says. Good to see we took your favorites, Bert.
I know he was a dog. And so was Dree Archer.
Is that the linebacker? Is that Makovich?
Yeah, Matakovich. Yes, he was a dog.
Am I wrong for not knowing who this is?
He was really good in college at Temple, but really didn't do anything in the NFL. Kind of like I loved this running back out of Kent State, Dree Archer. I thought he was exceptional.
You're gonna run into these people on the streets and just lambast them.
Everybody wants to talk about what's the dude from West Virginia. God, can I not think of nobody's name today? West Virginia, Tavon Austin. Everybody loves talking about Tavon Austin's highlight tape, but if you go watch Dree Archer's highlight tape, he was supposed to be him. And then who do the Steelers take? 3rd round. I remember their general manager in the press conference after was like, we saw this as a luxury pick. You ruined him.
Ramon cackling in the chat at his teammate being somebody that just stabbed you right through the heart just for picking up the phone in the draft from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matt in Bellevue has a submission next. Hey, Matt.
What's going on, guys? As a Miami original native living in Bellevue now, how about the biggest heel turn because it's consistent? GM management constantly breaking our hearts as Marlins fans to give away, trade away our best players, especially, right when we have something like Stanton or recently Chisholm to the Yankees, or how about in post-97 or post-2003? Yeah, that's the biggest heel turn in sports, in my opinion, because it's repetitive.
Yeah. All right, man. I will take your word for it. Sounds like you've been very hurt by that in the past. Chauncey in Clarksville is next. Good to hear from Chauncey. What you got, man?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
All right. Brett Favre ever suiting up for the Vikings, the biggest deal?
Sorry, brother. Didn't catch a word of that. Robert?
Well, he left.
You get any of that?
Nope.
Okay. Andrew in Nashville's next. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, guys. I got a good one, at least. I grew up North Atlanta, so this one was pretty familiar. Bobby Petrino leaving the Falcons, take the Arkansas job right in that weird year. Vic got indicted. They traded away insurance at Matt Schaub before the season, and he booked it the heck out of there, sight unseen. And we all know what happened to him,
Yes.
but it was a little poetic justice, in my opinion. But that was one that he was in over his head, but still, the way that he went out left a bad taste for everyone.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Andrew. I mean, Bobby Petrino, one of the biggest cases of karma in recent football history, trying to duck out in the middle of the night from Atlanta, sight unseen, as laid out by the caller, just to have the most public exit from a college that I think we've ever seen. I mean, is there a press conference photo of a coach exiting or being near his exit of a Power 4, Power 5 program than Bobby Petrino in that damn neck brace? I don't know if there is. All right, this is fun. We'll keep them coming. 615-737-1045, and we will sprinkle in these calls throughout the day. Speaking of heel turns, Buck Rising joins us next, checking in from mandatory minicamp and talking about some of what Brian Callahan had to say earlier. That's next on 1045 The Zone. Hey, guys, it's Lucas. There's a pretty big game happening tonight. The U.S. men's national team is back in Nashville for the first time in 2 years. They're playing at Geodis Park to host the Swiss national team in an international friendly, almost exactly a year out from the World Cup. If you are going to be in the building or you're not, I've got the spot for you to be today. That is Fog Street Lawn Club, Nashville's premier soccer pub. Great news. If you're going to the game, Fog Street is doing a send-off party. You can go pregame there. They will have free shuttles to Geodis Park. So go hang out with your fellow soccer fans, drink, eat, and head to Geodis Park with that free shuttle. If you're not going to the game, it's the perfect spot to watch it. Tons of space downstairs, TVs everywhere in a spacious bar area. Upstairs, the best rooftop view of downtown Nashville. You can play lawn bowling with your friends for free with any purchase from their awesome menu of British pub-style food. Fog Street Lawn Club is great because it gives you that experience of downtown Music City, but away from all the craziness of Broadway. It's easy to get in and out of. And again, tonight, an awesome party before the U.S. soccer game at Geodis Park with free shuttles, drink specials as well. So go check it out. Fog Street Lawn Club tonight.
What's going on? 12:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Brian Callahan spoke to the media earlier today ahead of Titans mandatory minicamp and gave us an update on L'Jarius Sneed.
I think everything that he's shown us when he's here has been fantastic, and there's a track record of success as well from what he has been as a player. But he's also got to prove that here too. He hasn't done that yet for us, so. There's a little bit of that as well. Like, we're waiting for him to show us, the player that he's been. He hasn't reached that level of play for us, and so we're waiting for that opportunity to occur. And I think he'll be ready for it when it comes. But his track record of success and what he's been as a player is pretty well documented. We just hope we need to get that version of him out here for us.
But all is not well around the league with some of the biggest stars holding out of mandatory minicamp. As reported, Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin would not be at Commanders camp, as well as Bengals and Steelers star pass rushers Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt, who were number 1 and number 2 in the NFL in sacks over the past 2 seasons. And in hockey, taking advantage of the Edmonton Oilers' worst performance in several weeks, the defending Florida Panthers pounced on their mistakes to win Game 3 in a 6-1 rout last night and take a 2-1 series lead. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome back. Hour number 3, day number 1 of mandatory minicamp for the Tennessee Titans. Buck is going to join us here in just a moment. And there's a lot to discuss. Brian Callahan talked earlier today about L'Jarius Sneed, updating where he is at in his progress. He's there, but he's not getting any work in at the moment. Jermaine Pratt was a topic of discussion. The former Bengals linebacker that was released from Cincinnati very publicly requested a trade back in February, led the team in tackles, team captain, a player obviously Callahan would have overlapped with in Cincy. Attendance good. Jeffrey Simmons is there for mandatory minicamp. A few other Titans topics to touch on. So Buck will not be able to give us any updates on what he's seeing on the practice field, but I do look forward to everything that comes out from Titans media after the fact once practice concludes when it comes to quarterback reps with Cam Ward. For the first time, we've had some sort of acknowledgement from Brian Callahan on just the volume of reps that Cam will be taking at mandatory minicamp being greater than the other quarterbacks, which we have not gotten from Callahan yet. First, it was, don't get worked up over the reps. We're mixing and matching. It's a non-issue. Now Cam Ward's getting more reps, according to the head coach, but it's just a developmental thing. So still, we're kind of walking around the idea of Cam Ward starting, or at least saying that publicly, even though we understand that's going to be the case. Buck Rising, what did you get Brian Callahan for his birthday?
Nothing. I gave him my presents, which I also deprived you two of the last couple of days. Are you two just going to do the show for the next, 4 days?
No, we both took off tomorrow. I assume someone else will be doing it.
It's not me. I'm out here.
Either that, or we'll just do it for the next forever, I suppose.
Yeah, we're getting pretty good at it. I don't even think you need to come back.
That's fine, as long as the checks keep cashing. This is a scary gig for me.
Oh, no, the
I'm
checks
fine.
will not be cashing. Yeah, we've made sure.
And we've actually forwarded all of your checks to our accounts.
Yeah.
Again, keeping in theme with the mantra that the two of you normally tell me, neither of you have any semblance of control that you pretend to have. So I appreciate you propping that up as a guys. What can I do for you?
What's the most interesting thing from the head coach today? Because there was actually there was a lot of meat on that bone from his press conference earlier.
Yeah, I would say, I go back and forth between obviously Cam getting more reps, which is the thing that most people are going to be interested in, like him waking up at 5 a.m., which duh. But his I don't want to call it a diatribe on Tyjae Spears, but I thought him kind of talking about Tyjae Spears and how excited he was to get him in the right space mentally as well as physically, and all the different things that they were excited to work with him on last year that, his availability in the concussion situation obviously deprived both him and them of. And, just hearing, I guess I haven't really heard Brian Callahan talk in those kind of terms about Tyjae, because last year he's still trying to get his feet under him. But that was probably the thing that stuck out the most, other than, Kevin Zeitler is out here working today, which is fair game because Callahan told us that he was going to do that, and Jeffrey being here is notable. They had him do many, many up downs due to his absence, though, which I thought was funny.
Oh, did they really? Because of his absence from OTAs?
Yes, they had an entire circle of the defense around him, and then made him do 20 up downs.
Okay, all right.
Which I'm sure he has not done in quite some time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he was loafing, right? I imagine Jeffrey Simmons had his.
He's doing fine. Okay. But again, up downs. Like, is there? We could put this on a poll on another day. Is there a single drill in football that you see that gives you PTSD faster than up downs? Up downs will forever send me into a high school football spiral.
It's the same thing as burpees, right? Like they're essentially the same thing.
Yes, but there's more motion. Like burpees, you jump up, down, to keep your feet up.
Okay. I mean, maybe Robert has one from his high school wrestling days when he wasn't soiling himself on the mat.
I don't know why you keep bringing up old stuff. I don't know why you keep bringing up old stuff. We're supposed to be a team against him.
How about your boyfriend taking
How am I not supposed to bring that up every time we bring up your wrestling career?
Also, don't make fun of our relationship, Buck. We have a very healthy relationship. I hated stadiums.
Ooh.
I hated doing stadiums.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, no, happy June to the both of you. You know I support you.
I was surprised that you led with Tyjae Spears as the most interesting thing. I know, like you said, he went on that tangent at the end of the press conference. But for the first time, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we heard the Titans head coach kind of acknowledge that L'Jarius Sneed with the Titans has not been the L'Jarius Sneed that they thought they were acquiring from the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's...
Oh, but he caught himself. I mean, he caught himself pretty quickly on, he has not been who they expected him to be to this point, because Lucas, he played in 5 games.
Yeah, right? He hasn't. That is a fact.
There was no way, because the thing that because I had texted you guys to make sure that there wasn't anything that we missed specifically that we had to get to, and then they called last question. But I was curious to follow up, and maybe this is a good follow up for tomorrow, on what most caused L'Jarius Sneed to not perform up to expectation when he was available to play, because he was objectively not good. I mean, he wasn't like a bad or terrible corner out there, but he certainly wasn't, the person that I associate L'Jarius Sneed with, 2-time defending Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs when he got traded here. It seemed like a shell of that player. And, different scheme, different personnel, different coordinator, all these things that are happening. So maybe that's fair, but I guess I didn't read too much into it, because he very quickly caught himself from making that a bigger deal than probably Titans fans could have made it. And by the way, are fair to make it, because they keep turning corner depth on this roster to try and figure out whether Sneed is going to be available. By the way, he's not practicing all week.
Buck checking in from mandatory minicamp as the Titans are on the field as we speak. So we can't get any updates on what is technically happening on the field, but I'm sure we will continue to talk about this linebacker battle. That's happening next to Cody Barton and Jermaine Pratt. Callahan asked about the Bengals linebacker, former now Bengals linebacker, who is a free agent getting released after the trade request. Jair Alexander also got released yesterday, Buck, and instantly you have Titans fans. I think anytime I think that any player that fans recognize that is of a position of even remote needs, like, go get him. Jair Alexander doesn't make sense for the Titans. Jermaine Pratt kind of does, though, right?
Well, it depends on how they feel about their linebacker depth, and I would tell you that I think he, based on what they are not publicly messaging, but how they are going about this, I think that they would prefer to see other bodies in here just to churn it, right? Again, they don't have pads on yet. That is the most important thing. So perhaps Cedric Gray and James Williams or Anthony Orji or any of these other bodies that they've brought in here to give them some different looks. And you probably heard the cheering in the background. There was a play that I cannot tell you about what happened, but it was a good one.
Who was involved?
Do it. Yeah, don't tell us what happened. Just tell us.
Just who was
tell us who was involved and just tell us what occurred, not what happened.
No. It was, okay, I will tell you who. It was Cody Barton, our guest from last week. So I guess the show's good luck.
So he had an interception. Cody Barton had an interception in practice today. Someone run with that.
No.
But okay, well, we know Cody Barton's spot is solidified. It's about the spot next to him.
My point with that is they are, and I thought Callahan put it perfectly, they are not good enough to turn their nose up at anybody. And Jermaine Pratt has been a good player in Cincinnati. I know Cincinnati's defense last year was the stuff of nightmares, but prior to that, Jermaine Pratt has been a good player, and I would argue he was a good player on that defense. It was just a bad defense that he was surrounded by. So I'm for it if the price is right. And Callahan basically, he didn't actively agitate at the podium for Jermaine Pratt, but obviously that's a player that he's gone against in practice on a daily basis for many, many years as an offensive coordinator in Cincy, and somebody who he has great respect for. So I'm for it. If for no other reason than, like, who among these guys is proven other than Cody Barton? And even Cody Barton was a bit of a late bloomer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Even if you feel great about those guys and, competition, iron sharpens iron and all of these things, like, what could these guys, all of these totally unproven guys competing to play next to Barton, what could they possibly show in OTAs and minicamp to make you feel good enough to not even kick the tires on a guy like Jermaine Pratt? And to Callahan's point, we'll play the audio in the next segment, it's not like they don't have financial flexibility here.
No, he called their cap healthy, which it is. They have maneuverability. They also have the first claim in the waiver order, which is a huge advantage for a team that cannot afford to turn their nose up at talent at this point in time. And I just think that they are going to give themselves as many different options at that specific position. You guys, I know you don't listen to the podcast that I do on Fridays with Titans media members. You literally produce it. Shut the hell up.
It doesn't mean he listens.
No, God, are you kidding me? I could tell you all the different things he's doing whilst not producing that podcast, but if he prefers it, you would talk about having power over somebody. Play that game with me, Robert, one time. I dare you. I would say that Nick Suss was on the 615 Sessions podcast with me this week. Suss asked me how many linebackers I thought this team had signed or called up or taken off somebody else's practice squad in the last, I can't remember the time frame. It was like 3 or 4 years. The number is in the 25 plus at off-ball linebacker that they have churned, whether it's David Long that they tried and failed a physical, or guys like who's the Vandy linebacker that they had here for a couple of years?
Zach Cunningham.
Yeah, Cunningham.
Zach Cunningham, like all these different names that you remember once they're brought up to you, but you can't believe how many different players at that specific position that this team, regardless of coaching staff or front office, that this team has churned through. So they haven't had an answer since, the good David Long season. And even that feels like 20 years ago.
Yeah. And Zach Cunningham, by the way, who is a Lion and is only 30 years old. I mean, I would.
No, he's 30?
Yeah, I mean, he's about the same age as Terry McLaurin, who we were just talking about.
That's crazy.
So he is now a Detroit Lion. All right, Cam Ward reps. It was brought up by Brian Callahan. He was asked about it. And now Cam Ward is getting more reps, but it's because of his developmental path, right? As we go on this road to finally just hearing the head coach say, yeah, he's our starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's also, it's the same to me as him getting up at the podium today and being like, I swear it's not lip service, but Will's had a really nice offseason. Please, somebody listen to me on that. Right, like these are just they're going through the motions, and that's fine. And not going through the motions, that would imply some level of lack of urgency. No, they're taking their time to make sure that he is ready for what they are presenting him with, so that they can set him up, Cam specifically, in the best possible position to succeed. And lucky for them, he sounds like a fast learner. Now, Cosell has been given access to the entire building, so I am hoping to learn. He's, in fact, standing in between the fields where the rest of the regular media are not allowed to go, talking to coaches all day today. So I'm looking forward to learning what Greg was able to take away from 3 days of intensive study in the Titans facility, specific to the quarterback. And, there's a great many other positions, and I know he's in their meetings this morning before we got out here on the field. But Greg's thoughts on the podcast this week are going to be fascinating, because he's getting a lot better look than, even those of us who are out here every day are getting.
I would not be talking about Greg like that out loud if you wanted him to continue getting access. As soon as they know he's sharing information with you, they're never going to let Greg back.
Oh, well, unfortunately, they are already well aware of my attachment to Greg. It's not like some other people who they're scared are going to start feeding me information.
Okay, we got a long week of practice. I don't need to know what happened today. I just need to know who is going to be the first Titan to get in a fight this week.
Well, he just showed up at practice today, so safe bet on Jeff.
Sans Jeffrey Simmons. Who is going to be fighting this week? If I have to take Jeffrey off the plate.
I don't know. Sounds like vibes are good with Jeff right now.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, he literally just got here, and they're not asking him to do too terribly much, so I can't imagine he's in a bad mood yet. But, first day of Pats. Barton brought this up to me last week after the interview, and he seems to relish fighting. So maybe I just take Cody Barton because he's literally said how much he enjoys it.
I guess where do you draw that line, right? Because it's like we were talking about, Buck, the interceptions during camp, right? There's the one side of, well, this is where you want these mistakes to happen, right? This is what training camp is for. And then there's the other side of, well, no, this is concerning. Same thing with fights to me. Like on one hand, like, no, that's great. You want to see that energy and fight and drive from players that they're competing out there. And on the other, it's like, all right, but we're also trying to practice here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, well, it's a more difficult balance on the coaches, right? Because it's like, okay, so we'll just use the Jeff example last year because you and I famously had that incident at training camp.
No, you had that incident.
What?
Well, yeah.
You and I, Lucas was like eating popcorn waiting for you to get smacked.
Yes, he was physically in all of these shots just along for the ride, hoping that I would get, my head taken off by a 300-plus pound defensive lineman. But still, all right, what did we talk about right after? They didn't kick him out of practice. And they probably should have. But he's the best player on the team. And you're a first-time coach. And you're looking around being like, mother, what do I do with this guy? Because he's testing me as well as testing the limits of what the team's, construct should allow for. I'll tell you that, like, talking to coaches about it enough, they expect you to be able to handle yourself. But if you get challenged, say in a joint practice, they've got Bucks and Falcons coming up later this summer. You get challenged by a Falcons player. You better respond. Now, obviously, you don't take things to an extreme, but they are looking at how you respond competitively. You are being judged at every moment when you're out on the practice field, whether it's within the bounds of the whistle or not. So it's something that coaches will not actively instigate, but they certainly won't downplay it the way that I think a lot of them like to publicly.
So coordinators will speak tomorrow after Brian Callahan. We'll carry all of that. It'll lead off the show. Callahan first, then coordinators in hour one. After hearing from all three coordinators a couple of weeks ago, I mean, what's going to be at the top of the list in terms of discussion points with those guys after taking in a practice of minicamp?
Probably, just the returners, specifically with John Fossil, the special teams unit. Did you guys carry those?
What are you talking about? The coordinator pressers?
Yeah. Like did you carry all three of them?
Oh, a couple weeks ago, but it would have been on with cover 2. But yes, they did.
Okay. Either way, like Fossil, I thought had one of the more interesting quotes out of that I've ever heard from a coordinator, which is, and I'm sure this is more common practice. That there's just not really coaches that talk about it publicly that way. The idea that he didn't watch any of their special teams stuff. I mean, he watched a little, but he really didn't watch any of their special team stuff last year because he said, I don't want to have bias against players who were coached to do something differently than I would coach them. Like, he just doesn't pay attention to anything that Colt Anderson did. Are we allowed to say that name, or is it still like Lord Voldemort, Mr. Quiet Places?
I don't know. How many of those do we have with the Titans in the last few years?
Plenty. The list, it's like the Browns quarterback jersey. The list just keeps growing. But, that how he's been able to integrate his program, what dividends he's seeing from that specifically. With Denard, it's as much about the linebackers as anything, and basically who's running your defense, and how Cody Barton has worked with these guys, and how he's seen growth from them specifically, and how he's making adjustments without L'Jarius Sneed, and then for Holtz, obviously, everything comes back to the quarterback.
I did love Fossil's quote of, what was it? He said, I just want a solid and sound special teams unit that goes nuts out there.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. The juxtaposition there is good.
He's one of the most unique coaches that you'll find. Very few NFL special teams coaches have NFL film pieces done on them the way that John Fossil does. He's a unique character for sure, and Titans fans should be damn lucky to have him.
Hey, appreciate the time, Buck. On the way out, do you think you could breathe any heavier into the phone for us?
Yeah, come on, give us one. Oh, no.
The whole time is just...
Oh, he's shy.
Titans practice. Darth Vader out there.
We embarrassed him. Listen to him. The way he stopped breathing.
He did. He held his breath until he hung up the phone.
We got him self-conscious. Poor guy.
Dude, we need to do that every week. You sounded kind of phlegmy, dude. Can you clear your throat next time before you come on with us?
Oh, tomorrow he will mute his phone in between
All right.
sentences.
Everybody DM me and Lucas your ideas to terrorize Buck at
Yes, please.
training camp.
At Lucas Panzica on Twitter and at
Oh, it's so lame. At Robbie_Walsh. I've been fighting, and I need y'all's help. This is the wrong time to do it. We need to take a break. I need the at Bert Twitter handle. That dude don't tweet, but like once a year, I've DM'd him. I've tweeted
just
him.
BERT? Who is it?
Just this dude that's like bald, and he looked like a daggum Joker with his haircut. Anyway, we'll fight this battle another time.
Identity theft is no joke. You should take that all the way to the top. All right, a lot to react to from what Buck was talking about, and we will hear from the Titans head coach on both Cam Ward and the reps he's taking at mandatory minicamp, and Jermaine Pratt and the idea of adding the former Bengals linebacker to this linebacker room. We'll do that next on 104.5 The Zone. Buck Rising, a literal mouth breather, according to many in the F&M Bank chat. So we'll get his response tomorrow as he sheepishly shuffles over to Jim Wyatt, according to Tyler, and says, Jimmy, do I breathe loud? I think you embarrassed him. But back to the point. Titans head coach Brian Callahan today on his 41st birthday addressed the media before mandatory minicamp, which is set to wrap up. By the way, Buck will get a chance to catch up with a select Titans player that is TBD, and we will play that interview for you on the air tomorrow.
Throw your names in the chat. Who y'all want to hear from?
Who do you guys want to hear from? I'm interested. F&M Bank chat, where we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, 104.5 The Zone TV. You can also chime in via the phones, 615-737-1045. So there is this battle happening at the linebacker spot next to Cody Barton. Talked a lot to Buck about it. And Jermaine Pratt is floating out there, the former Bengals linebacker that obviously Brian Callahan has worked with before. He was asked about Pratt earlier today and the potential of adding somebody at that position.
Yeah, I think anytime, good players are available, you do your due diligence. It always takes two sides to make something happen. There's got to be interest on both sides. But we're certainly not at the point where we would ever turn our nose up at a player that's available. We'll do our research. We'll do our due diligence. Whether that materializes or not, who knows? But we're always going to look into those guys, and especially as we get into training camp with the top waiver claim. That's something else that's going to come up a lot too. Is just we owe it to our team. Our front office does a great job with it of sort of always mining whatever's available to see if we can improve our team somewhere.
How would you say that?
I'll come back and finish the follow-up.
What do you recollect about that?
Yeah, Jermaine was a key piece of our defenses in those runs that when I was there in Cincinnati. Leader, good player, productive player. He's kind of responsible for some pretty memorable moments for those teams in those couple of years. And, I was with him from the time he was drafted till I left. So I got a good knowledge of the person. They're certainly, the type of guy you'd want to be around.
Jermaine Pratt, 29 years old, just turned 29, May 21st. He was a third-round pick in 2019 out of NC State to Cincinnati and led the Bengals in tackles last season, had a career year in tackles with a total of 143, but has just kind of been a model of consistency in the middle of that defense, right? A guy that's been relied upon by Lou Anarumo, a team captain, and available. We keep hammering that nail, but that's what the Titans have addressed, or that is the box that every single free agent acquisition they have addressed has checked. Of the guys that have played in the NFL, availability has been 1A or 1B in the highest priorities. In the draft, it's a bit of a different story, right? Kevin Winston, the safety out of Penn State. There's so much upside there. We know he missed a large part of his senior year, probably would have been drafted higher if not for that ACL injury that ruled him out for that huge chunk of 2024. So, yes, they absolutely drafted some guys with a little bit of injury history. But when it comes to the free agent acquisitions, there's a ton of consistency there. They just play. They play games, and they're consistent in that regard. So Jermaine Pratt checks that box, and he is out there. To what price? To be determined. Brian Callahan was asked about some of the flexibility the Titans have right now with the cap.
I think we got good flexibility. I think our cap's healthy, which I think at the end of the day, from a financial perspective, you always want to at least have the flexibility to do those types of things if they come up. We've done a really good job, I think, of managing that over the last, at least since I've been here for 2 years, of being able to be in position if something does come up that makes sense, of being able to do it. Again, doesn't mean we're going to. I think Mike and those guys in the front office are pretty disciplined in their approach on how they're going to go about those types of players. But I think we have the flexibility to add players where needed from now until, whenever that end point comes for us. The trade deadline, I think, is probably the last point. But, they're going to do their due diligence on anybody that comes available between now and the end of training camp for sure, again, with the waiver claim as well. But we have the flexibility to do what we would need to do.
According to Spot Track, the Titans have over $30 million in cap space, 30.7, which would rank them 12th in the NFL at this point. Also, according to Spot Track, the average annual salary, the market value, I should say, of Jermaine Pratt and his average annual salary would be $9 million. They estimate 2 years, 17.9, we'll say $18 million. Robert, how would you feel about two years, $18 million for a veteran linebacker and Jermaine Pratt to pair next to Cody Barton?
I wouldn't mind that, especially with the healthy cap that he noted. And if you can do that, then you have a solidified linebacking core for the next 2 years, and it helps James Williams, Otis Reese, all these other guys file in behind them, understand what's expected of them, and not have to contribute early on. So James Williams can worry more about the intricacies of the position and not so much, do I need to be out there this week? I got to be in position. I'm not in position. He can take his time learning the position.
Right, exactly. Like, it wouldn't change the sense of urgency from those guys. Like, James Williams is going into year 2 of his career. Otis Reese, at this point, has been around a little bit. A UDFA in 2023, but he's already about to be 27. So he was an older player coming out of Ole Miss after he transferred from Georgia. But you're right. For these guys, that sense of urgency will be just as high because you will get snaps. Understand that these players are largely available throughout the course of their career, but injuries happen at some point. There's just no way that you could have seen enough from any of these players, right, to look at Jermaine Pratt and say, no, we're good. We're covered. That feels very unlikely to me. So we'll see if the Titans go that route, kick some tires. Zadarius Smith is still out there, by the way. He strikes you as a veteran that would prefer to miss minicamp, especially at that pass rusher position. So it feels like a Zadarius Smith deal wouldn't transpire until right up on the cusp of training camp, right?
I wonder how you feel about this, more on Pratt than it is on Zadarius. But if say the Titans did sign him and the number ends up being larger than what you would expect, larger than that 2-year, $19 million, I think that is because the Titans had to bid off other people. Because if for one, I think everyone is kind of penciling him in to sign with the Colts because of his relationship with Lou Anarumo, who got fired from Cincinnati this past year. But if he was to say, nah, I don't want to go play with Lou, and all these contenders call who need linebackers, nah, I think I'd rather go to Nashville. I think I'd rather go somewhere and set the culture. If he's that guy, great. But the Titans may have to overpay at this part of the offseason to acquire his services. I think around the league, most people know where they stand in the hierarchy of teams being good or not. And for him to go, I'm going to Tennessee. Either he loves country music and can't wait to be on Broadway, or the Titans did right by him and gave him a financial compensation that would make him be willing to not go to a contender, not go to somewhere that he's familiar with Lou Anarumo.
Yeah, and how much are you willing to, overstep with what you're comfortable with? Like, the only player the Titans, you would say, have overpaid this offseason would be Dan Moore to come in at that left tackle spot. You could easily make that argument. And then the debate about if it's worth the money, if he ends up being league average, consistent, available, that's all a conversation we can have later. But they obviously have tried to turn away from that route, which very much was kind of the push that they were on in the offseason ahead of the 2024 season. But that somewhat conservative way of doing things in free agency has allowed you the ability to overpay a little bit for a player that can come in and immediately fill a position of need. And by the way, that immediately boosts your depth because now the guys that were competing for the starting job are your depth if Jermaine Pratt is to come in and slide into that spot. So we'll see if the Titans decide to go that route. Let me remind you quickly that tonight the U.S. men's national team is at Geodis Park for an international friendly, but it's more than a match. It's a countdown to history. A year from tomorrow, the U.S. men's national team kicks off the World Cup. Eyes of the world will be on American soil, and tonight the U.S. takes on Switzerland in the Coca-Cola send-off match. It's their final tune-up before the summer's premier regional tournament. The Gold Cup kicks off later this weekend, a competition with North and Central American teams. A big moment of preparation for the U.S. ahead of next summer's World Cup. And tonight is an important international friendly for the United States. And tickets start at only $35. You can still get one at 1045thezone.com. Of course, if you're not in the building, we will carry the game on 1045 The Zone. I'm happy to be on the call with Jamie Watson for the Westwood One broadcast. Karen on the FNM Bing chat says she'll be there tonight. Looking forward to seeing her and everybody in the building at Geodis Park. It's going to be fun. 7 o'clock, 7:07 kickoff, 6:45 pregame. We'll be on the air. Can we hear quickly from Brian Callahan on Cam Ward, in case anybody missed it, and the reps that he'll be getting at mandatory minicamp?
Yeah, I thought it was a good day for him, and a good day doesn't necessarily mean high level performance, but it was a good day for him as a young player to see all the things that are coming at him. He did some really good things, and there was some cool stuff that he learned from that he maybe hadn't encountered before. First time out going against a blitz heavy attack like our defense is, and presents a lot of problems, a lot of things you have to manage from the quarterback position, a lot of things maybe for the first time he's done. So that was really good to see. Plenty of things to coach off of on the tape. He understands things pretty quickly as far as what the looks are and what our answers are. He's done a nice job of catching up to those things, but really good first day. And the red zone's the other area too, where things happen a lot faster. The windows are tighter. The recognition happens quicker. The throws have to be on point, and so there's been really good learning down in the red zone too. So excited about all that process. There's something every day for him, which is a lot of our young players too. It's been good to work through all that stuff.
The guys are efficiently in the middle of the field. Is that a fair assessment that he's particularly good at this stage in the middle?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. He's got a great feel for underneath coverage and underneath space. Understands where the landmarks are, understands the timing of those throws. It's a strength of his for sure at this point. And it's something we're going to keep working to highlight, and then we'll keep working to fill in where we think he can keep improving. So middle of the field is certainly something he's comfortable with and done a lot of, and that's translated so far to this level in practice.
All right, so that's Brian Callahan talking about what he has seen from Cam Ward against what the Titans have thrown at him. And he did go on to say that Ward taking more reps due to just his developmental path. That's kind of the line right now from Brian Callahan. We'll see what that looks like and what kind of takeaways there are. News and notes should come out of minicamp practice here in the next half hour or so from the assembled Titans media. And tomorrow we will hear from Callahan again off the top of the show, followed by coordinators. So we'll see what's at the top of the docket then. All right, when we come back, Stanley Cup final action. Yesterday, the NBA Finals continue on. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. We'll wrap up the show next on 1045 The Zone.
Do you spend as much time planning for your retirement as you do planning for your upcoming summer vacation? Well, call Trajan Wealth today, and they can plan your financial future like a dream summer getaway. Because occurrences like inflation, election cycles, new laws, and interest rates can affect the financial markets in the short term, but it doesn't make sense to keep changing the way that you invest in response to the daily news. Instead, Trajan Wealth will help you review your strategy and make sure that it's right for your goals, your level of risk tolerance, and time horizon. Trajan Wealth will help you decide what to do. They are the best that way, and they will give you that security that so many of us don't feel when we're handling our own finances. They've got 2 locations here in Middle Tennessee, Brentwood and Franklin, and the number is simple, 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
Last call for phone calls. 615-737-1045. Lucas and Robert with you until 1 o'clock, and it'll be like that tomorrow and on Thursday. Buck will be back in studio Friday. He'll continue to check in the noon hour from Mandatory Minicamp. So, on the docket today, we had Brian Callahan talking about Jermaine Pratt, Brian Callahan talking about Cam Ward's reps, and Brian Callahan talking about L'Jarius Sneed, who will not be getting work in, is present, but obviously we need to see a lot more of, and we'll get into all that stuff tomorrow. Coordinators will speak after Callahan, so we'll lead off with the head coach once again at the top of the show, followed by coordinators, and go from there. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this Tuesday. Stanley Cup final continued on, and the momentum, the pendulum, has swung to the side of the Panthers, who took Game 3 6-1, tacking on a late goal to dominate the Edmonton Oilers at home to take a series lead 2-1 after dropping Game 1 in Edmonton late in overtime. So this game did not have the competitiveness that the first two had, going to a single overtime and a double overtime. But the Panthers dominate 6 goals, 6 different goal scorers, and so much so that Robert put it in his update. What inspired you today? This is the first time all season that you have put a hockey score in your top of the hour update.
I didn't want to have to write something about Omaha.
About just the College World Series?
Yeah, I didn't want to have to be like, hey, this team hasn't made it. This is the first time this team ever. So I thought it would just be easier just to cover the hockey game than cover 8 teams going to Omaha. If I'm being honest, it was all because I was lazy.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you don't like hockey. You've been to more soccer games in your life than hockey games, which I love.
I would agree with that. I would agree. But every time we go to a Preds game, it's terrible. Like, the only reason I would want to go to a Preds game is either, one, they were going to let me drive Bert's Boney, and I was going to be able to slick the ice down, or if we were going to do like a show bit and sneak a catfish in, or a squid, octopus, anything of that ilk.
The reason I think you would like it is because oftentimes, I love you, and I do this too, but we display the behavior of a 9-year-old child. And
no, I don't. Stop it, dude.
This 9-year-old child that happened to be at the game in Sunrise, Florida, very much enjoyed what she was seeing, because in the third period of this game, it's 5-1. The game's over. There's, 6 minutes left. And fights break out to where all 5 players on each team were fighting one another, and the rest were letting them go, just kind of letting them tire themselves out, which is great. You don't often see it in a Stanley Cup final or in the playoffs in general. But this is from WPLG Local 10 News down there in South Florida. This 9-year-old girl who very much enjoyed what she was seeing with all the fighting that took place in a blowout of Game 3.
Okay, peel back the curtain a little bit. We interviewed 9-year-old Sophia here before the game, and I asked her what her favorite part of Florida Panthers games are. Sophia, what is your favorite part of Panthers game?
The fighting.
The fighting. Okay, so now I have to ask you, now that it has become the big story from this game, what did you think about the fighting, especially in that third period?
It was really good, and I really liked how they punched each other a lot.
Now, did you feel like the Panthers won the fight in addition to the game?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So do you want to be our local 10 fighting hockey expert?
Yes.
I really enjoyed how they punched each other.
A lot.
That's great work. She was grinning ear to ear, too. That was fantastic.
I hope she's going to go back to school and just become a fight antagonizer. Like the lunchroom, some dispute happened, somebody took somebody else's sandwich, somebody cut somebody's crust off. Yeah, you should punch him.
Your parents get a call. You got to stop taking Sophie to hockey games.
This chick is like the regular. What was the dude that was like the boxing promoter? I was about to make a dated reference, and I can't. Only in America. Who's that guy?
Oh, man, you are straight. There's plenty of people listening that know exactly who you're talking about, but it's right over my head. I just feel like that would be you in the concourse of a Preds game. I really, but maybe it's not your thing. That's
Don
okay.
King. Don King.
Donkey? Game 4 of the Stanley Cup final coming up on Thursday. I'm so sorry. Thursday in Sunrise, and the NBA finals continue on tomorrow night. Thunder and Pacers, Game 3, as the series heads back to Indianapolis. You're mad at me, I can tell. Let's do some polls.
The polls brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the most trusted Ford dealership in all of the South. What in sports made you say, oh no, this week? Tyler says Italy likely missing a third straight World Cup. Lucas, how do you respond?
Oh, it's a national disaster. We don't need to get into it.
Oh,
World Cup-
no.
Yeah, something like that. Vibes are not good. Let's move on.
Roman Anthony's error in his first Major League Baseball game. Guys, I'm just going to take your word for it. If you say that happened in a Major League Baseball game at this point of the season, sure, I guess. Glad it happened. What is the greatest heel turn in sports history? Got a number of responses to this one. A&M's baseball coach going to Texas, which is what you inevitably went with as the winner. D. Good says Buck's mom, right? At Schaefer Sports. We miss Schaefer. And LeBron to Miami from Tyler.
Yeah, LeBron to Miami, I guess, is one. Anytime you have fans burning jerseys. KD to Golden State felt a lot more like a heel turn because with LeBron, like nationally, it's like, yeah, man, get out of there. You know, like what? Am I wrong? Is that revisionist history by me? I remember the overwhelmingly negative response to Kevin Durant. But when LeBron left Cleveland, Cleveland fans aside, was the rest of the country not kind of like, well, yeah, you've been carrying this team for how long? Like, go get you a ring. Or was it, I could be dead wrong. It was the big three.
I think a lot of conversation was made nationally from the big talking heads that how could he turn his back? They've got the local weatherman saying, okay, we need you, LeBron. We really need you.
Okay, well, he came back anyway. He made good with Cleveland. The Jim Schlossnagle going from A&M to Texas, to me, that won the discussion.
We didn't even really get into this much today, but which UDFA has a better shot to make the roster? Xavier Restrepo or Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, the offensive tackle out of Florida they gave a big bag to with the UDFAs? Xavier Restrepo, unsurprisingly, is running away with this 83%.
Unsurprising, yes, but it's incorrect. Look, Restrepo might make the team, but Brandon Crenshaw Dixon has a better path to making this roster. You mentioned the money he got as a UDFA. That doesn't guarantee you a spot, but the lack of depth at swing tackle very well could. Now, he still has to show it, but there is a much shorter road to making this roster for Crenshaw Dixon, the tackle out of Florida, than Restrepo, the receiver out of Miami, who's in, just a big pile of receivers fighting for those last few spots.
Who is most likely to be paid at the of the mandatory minicamp holdouts? T.J. Watt, Terry McLaurin, or Trey Hendrickson? T.J. Watt taking the brunt of the votes, 56%. Terry McLaurin following him with 27%, and Trey Hendrickson with 15%.
You agree with that? T.J. Watt, the most likely of those three to get paid?
I do, and I think he's the most responsible to get paid. Like he has done the most to earn that money. Terry McLaurin, a great player, but a huge flash-in-the-pan superstar season last year. Trey Hendrickson deserves to get paid, but not on the same level as T.J. Watt. I don't know if I say
flash-in-the-pan, though. That's consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
1,000-yard seasons. You know how many yards you need to have 1,000 yards in a 17-game season? Like, that's not impressive if you break it down every week. He needs like 50-something yards.
We'll agree to disagree.
Do you enjoy, before we get to that, no, actually, it was this one I was going to add something to. Do you enjoy Oz the Mentalist? 43% say yes. 56% of the audience agree with me and say no. He needs to be serving his country, serving the people, doing something with his talents. Go out there and be a hostage negotiator or something. Puka in the comments says, who is Oz the Mentalist? That's what they create Google for.
Oh, the hostage negotiator is great. Oz just doing something to blow the mind of the person responsible and just, oh my God, that was amazing. You can have them all back.
Hey, tell me what wire to cut. I'm going to guess right now. I'm going to think it's the red wire I need to cut. Yes? Go ahead and cut it. Like, how cool would that be? You know what I mean? Like,
I think I agree with you on that. I don't agree with you on the McLaurin stuff. I could not be more on board. Oz the Mentalist, do something for good instead of just blowing people's minds on TV if you have these powers.
You know my favorite color as a child. You knew I lived on Zinzendorf Street. Like, who cares?
Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
That's the show. Fun as always. We're back at it tomorrow with Brian Callahan and coordinators leading us off. Hope you'll join us tonight on the Westwood One broadcast. USA versus Switzerland, 6:45 pregame, 7:07 kickoff. Blaine and Zach got you covered on Cover 2 coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.
Introducing our new partner, Premier Generators, now in Nashville, the largest certified Generac dealer in Tennessee. When power outages strike, protect your family with a top-tier generator, expertly installed by local specialists. Premier Generators dedicates itself solely to generators, offering unmatched expertise. Plus, you can enjoy the peace of mind with an extended 10-year warranty. Don't wait for the next storm. Schedule your consultation today, because that's something that they run into quite often. Talking to the fine folks at Premier Generators yesterday, people think that they can just call the day before a storm or things like that and say, can you install a generator at my home? There's so many different things that you have to make sure that you have in line before you can actually get this process underway. So it's important for you to be proactive and not reactive when it comes to making sure that you don't lose power at the most critical moments. I myself can speak to this on personal experience. When that tornado hit us in 2020 over in the Germantown, North Nashville area where I'm at, we were without power for 6 days. And what I wish I would have been smart enough to, or what I wish I would have been smart enough at the time to realize that it was so important to have a generator at my home. And since